Hi, I'm Claire Elliot, I want to say the Dragon King's daughter, because in the Lotus Sutra that's what I'm called. But I'm on Earth. I am the Zodiac killer's daughter. How you doing? Um, I expect this to be my last live stream dedicated dedicated to Elliot RODGER'S Manifesto. I am really tired. I'm sorry. It took me a lot longer than I expected. I always underestimate time. And I guess it's almost 3 hours later. I apologize. I thought, oh, I could just make it happen in an hour. I tried, and, it just takes a lot longer than I realize. Actually, it's 3 hours later, isn't it? Almost. All right. I am going to continue the reading of Elliot RODGER'S manifesto. If you watch my previous live streams on this subject, you'll know this is my ex-boyfriend, David Craig. We're actually married on paper. We were. He didn't want me to know. They gave me a memory drug I wasn't supposed to remember. He knew I would one day to do what I'm doing right now. Anyway, this is his disguise. This is Elliot RODGER'S, and I didn't bring up the other. I believe there's another Elliot RODGER'S who is the guy that was born Elliot RODGER'S. And that there were two, and they look slightly different. If you look at different pictures of Elliot RODGER'S, you can see this looks like David's disguise, and you can see the long nose. He wears disguises. He steals people's identities. It's a CIA operation. He's a hitman for the CIA, and this is what happens when we have a section of our government who makes it legal for people to act this way. We create serial killers like my father, the Zodiac killer, who passed away in 2020. But I didn't find out till 2022 by stumbling upon his online obituary. And the same situation with my mother, but because of what happened to my father, I made sure to check my mother more frequently and found out pretty promptly that my mother died back in October. Lost both my parents in the same year, even though, I mean, in my experience, he really died in 2020, my father, but lost my mother, my father. David's mother was like my mother, and she died Memorial Day. His niece, who I used to babysit, died 9/4. A lot of loss in 2022. It's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I'm forgetting something, Anyway, I removed my family from my life a long time ago. They threw me in the garbage, so I just threw them right back in the garbage. It was them who rejected me, not the other way around. I never had a family. I just survived my family. And if it weren't for Daddy, who is Clint Eastwood, who raised me from zero, from the time before I was born. I mean, he was chanting to my mother's belly when I was in utero with my triplet siblings. I was the only triplet my mother chose to keep. I was the only healthy, normal triplet. And my identical twin and our triplet brother were given up for adoption. My identical twin has never gotten over this. She lives across the street from me. She uses a different name. She has a different history. But it took me 2 years to realize my identical twins lived across the street from me, because she looks quite different from me. She's always been heavier than me. I don't think she's heavier anymore. I think I'm the heavier one. But she still looks heavier. She's got, more fat on her face. She's always been a bigger person than me, And She's trying really hard not to look like me. She has overplucked her eyebrows. She doesn't have dark eyebrows. They're very insignificant upon her face. She tans her skin very dark. She lightens her hair almost platinum blonde. Looks very different. And she looks different than I did when I bleached my hair almost platinum blonde and tanned my skin. We just look slightly different. We developed differently in the womb because my mother allowed herself to be injected with heroin and gin, drank gin. And that's why we're all savants. They took the idiot out of idiot savant because of me, because I have no disabilities. Every part of my brain that overcompensated for the harm being done to it, you know, the less developed parts of my brain are in the normal range, and so I'm normal, but more advanced than I would have been had I been in the product of a healthy pregnancy, because savants are more advanced than geniuses because their genius brain, you know, our genius brain's overdeveloped, and so we're really smart. I know a lot of people don't know how smart I am. I sometimes can't believe it myself, but I do have a difficulty with the way the world is. It's maybe more painful for me because I'm more aware than the typical person. You know, when you don't have a heart, which is a form of intelligence, it's called EQ. It's passed along through the father. When you don't have a heart, you don't care. You don't have empathy. I very much care. I got a lot of really good EQ. I have more than one father. So many. I don't even know. It's a big, huge number. We have the most fathers of anybody. My twin and I. I believe our triplet brother is our full brother. He doesn't look anything like us. Anyway, my twin doesn't want to have anything to do with me. I mean, she lives across the street from me. As soon as she realized it was me, she wouldn't talk to me anymore. I met her when she first moved in. She was so excited. It was the day they signed the paperwork, and she didn't know it was me that was next door. I was still over in in Elizabeth's house next door to them, and I welcomed them to the neighborhood. And it was at the very end that I said, and our names are Dean and Claire, Claire and Dean. And I guess that's when it dawned on her who I was. I mean, I'm sure I looked pretty familiar to her. She looked different then. She's already, you know, she wasn't as tan as she is now. She's worked really hard to make sure she looks very different from me. And I suspect she's involved in the corruption of my money. She's probably the whole problem I have. She's probably the one that has claimed I'm not the right Claire Elliot, confusing the people who I grew up with and who love me and I love them. I mean, at least they used to love me. You know, they thought that the Claire Elliot they grew up with, they got a little confused for a while. They really thought that that wasn't the right Claire Elliot, and probably because of my twin. I thought it was because of my mother that everybody got confused. My father was the trustee of the trust of that I formed in 1994 after the murders. I don't know why he didn't step up, but he just kind of went along with the scam. Didn't want to interfere. It's all a setup. It's a sting operation. All of you have your notice listening to me, watching me right now. The truth will be revealed. The truth always prevails. Anybody who thinks they're really clever and smart because they're a criminal, I'm here to inform you, you are retarded. You are mentally retarded. It's only a mentally retarded person who can think they're really smart because they fool people and take advantage of people. People who don't have heart, they're mentally retarded. That part of their brain that is their heart is underdeveloped or doesn't or never developed. And that's what makes a criminal. And, you know, just because you have a high IQ, if you do even, that doesn't mean you're not mentally retarded. You can be mentally retarded and have a high IQ. That's called a high functioning mental retard. All right, so I'm going to get started, and I'm going to finish this damn manifesto. I'm going to finish it this session. I'm really tired, but I'm going to get this done now. This is the day. Today, this guy, well, it's really David. This is his disguise. I mean, you can compare. Eyebrows put a little higher, little fuller lips, you know, similar chins. If I pull them up, if I could do that, you can see the similarity. Anyway, Bryan Kohberger. Oops. Come on, undo that. I don't know what's going on. Another disguise of David's. You can see the resemblance a lot more easily here. See? David does not have the huge prominent nose on his face. His nose kind of blends into his face. That's added. These nostrils are a little bigger, ears lower, a little more room for his natural ears, which are set higher. Same mouth, lips. I cut off the chin, unfortunately. I can't believe I did that. They have the same chin. Anyway, so they're going to be watching. I think it's really cute to put them right here and let them watch. And let me get out the manifesto. Here we go. I'm so tired, but let's get this done. Let me get a little drink of my Mountain Dew. I'm still drinking my Mountain Dew. Not good for me. I don't recommend it. It's bad for you. It's my vice, my one vice, and I've probably raised my A1C by a number of points drinking it in the last couple of months. When I'm really stressed out, I break down and I have my Mountain Dew, and it's not good. Don't recommend it. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to start right here. Did I leave off over here? Okay, I'm thinking I'm just going to read here, and if I repeat myself, it's okay. I have 39 more pages, and if I just really read, get serious and read, I might have a few comments, but I'm going to try not to go too long with my comments so I can get this done. And I don't know. I don't even know if Bryan Kohberger if his legal team has posted his alibi. I'm kind of curious. The deal is, if I get this out, my intention was to get it out by midnight last night. And then I thought, okay, 9 a.m. Pacific. But, I've got a 92-year-old woman I'm taking care of. I've got a husband. I've got 5 animals inside, 2 stray cats outside. I've got a lot going on over here, so I got to do it when I can, and I figure I'll be given a break as long as it's done today. Today. I started to say this today. Elliot RODGER'S would have been 32 years old. He was 22 when he died in 2014. Today would have been his 32nd birthday. Is that correct? I believe it is. He was 22 in 2014, and 2014 was 7, 8. Was that 8 years ago? Yep. No, 9 years ago. And so, okay. Would it be 32? No, I got it wrong, didn't I? Okay. 2014, he was turning 23 that year. That's why he would be 32 today, because he died before his 23rd birthday that year. And this is after the time he died. And so he would be 32 today. Is that right? Because he would have been 23, and that's 9 years. Mm-hmm. And September 5th, Dean and I will have been married 9 years. and we will have known each other about 10 years. Okay. I'm going to start right here. During the few weeks I had before my first day of class, I couldn't really do anything to improve my social situation. I had a fear of going out to Isla Vista without any friends, and I was hoping to make those friends once college started. Because of this, I became depressed again from all of the loneliness. Even though Spencer was there, I felt completely and utterly alone, as the two of us never talked that much. So far, Spencer and I had gotten along quite well, despite the fact that we never talked much. Okay, I'm thinking Spencer is his new housemate. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure. Am I right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay. It's his new housemate, as he calls him. An incident happened at the end of January that changed all this. Okay. It's after they've been roommates for a few months. One day he has this mixed up, but okay, I guess he meant it like this. I one day discovered that Spencer had a girl in this room. In this room. I couldn't believe it. The short, chubby guy was able to get a girl into his room before I did. I was so shocked and outraged that I waited outside his room until the girl left so I could get a glimpse of how she looked. So, a girl in his room. Not this room. He means his room. To my relief, she wasn't that attractive. Yeah, usually, there are all kinds of girls out there. You don't need, some model, blonde hair, egotistical model to, I'm not saying all supermodels are egotistical. I'm just saying that, be open to all kinds of women. You might be surprised at how happy you could be with a different kind of woman. You don't have to narrow yourself down. Okay. To my relief, she wasn't that attractive. What made me even more angry is that Spencer gave me a smug look when I saw the girl, even though she was ugly. I'm sure she wasn't that bad. He had the nerve to feel like he was better than me just because he managed to get a girl over to the apartment before I did. I confronted him in the kitchen on that same night, telling him that he is foolish to feel proud about having an ugly whore in his room. Oh, God! This made him angry and offended, which is what I wanted. I wanted to offend him as punishment for his insolence. After that incident, the two of us became more and more hostile towards each other. It's not going well. In the beginning of February, my spring semester at Santa Barbara City College began. The classes I registered for were sociology, math, film studies, and English. Oh, he's interested in film. I guess with a producer as a father, that would make sense. My English class was an online class, but the other three were normal classes that I attended at the college. Sociology and math were on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my film class was on Friday mornings. It made for a convenient setup. This was the last chance. I had already failed to change my life in the last semester. I must not fail again. This is weird. This is like David. It is. Like I told you, he has a thing about deadlines, and I'm really hoping I did not miss the deadline, David. He always gives deadlines. I told you the story how, I had to do something. I forget what it was. I had a deadline, and if I didn't do it, he was going to kill me. And he did, okay? I'm not going to get into it right now. You can go through the live streams and figure it out and find the place where I talk about that. Yeah, I mean, he always had a deadline. Like, he had somebody in his head telling him, if she doesn't by this time, and kill her, kill her. You know, I mean, he has some voice that tells him this. Somebody's telling him this. I don't know, maybe it's somebody in the CIA, or maybe, you know, to be honest, I have thought about it, and I won't go too off topic here. I won't be talking too long. I really wonder if people who are schizophrenic, if there's a way for the CIA to talk to them in their head. Like, I really wonder, like, because where are these voices? It's like, you know, these people who perceive voices, they're like tuned to a different channel, a different frequency than the rest of us. And I really do think that they have the technology to tell these people what to do. I know it's really weird, but the CIA does all kinds of stuff like this. It's all top secret. And yeah, maybe, I mean, when they know, I don't know how it works, but I mean, you know, I'm fascinated by schizophrenia. I think they are tuned to a different frequency than the rest of us. I really do. I feel like they receive information from another plane, from another, like, frequency channel, whatever. You know, they're just not tuned to our channel as clearly as we are. Like, you know, Elizabeth over here in the next room, she really loves this channel Grit, and it doesn't always come in well, but it's her favorite channel, and she doesn't want it. You know, she loves cowboy movies. She watches cowboy movies all day long, and that's the only channel that has cowboy movies all day long, but it doesn't come in as well as some of the other channels. And, you know, that's what I feel like. Schizophrenia, this channel doesn't come in as well all the time, our channel. And, like, they get tuned to a different channel, and they're listening to a different channel, watching a different channel if they see things, you know. See, I've never had that. I've never had that experience. You know, I tried to tell Larry Shaw that, you know, but, you know, see, what he was doing, it's a scam. You know, he's trying to make, you know, some real traumatic things happen to me, and he knows it. He was part of my trauma in 1975. And, you know, what he's doing is trying to claim that what I'm remembering is some kind of hallucination, some kind of delusion. I guess, yeah, that's why that's what he's trying to say. And this is what criminals do, you know. This is how the CIA, you know, operates as well. They need to keep things secret. So, you know, if somebody doesn't have a security clearance and they can't control them, you know, they've got to either label them a liar, or they have to label them delusional, which means, you know, crazy, right? And as a kid, I was told that I had to choose one. I had to choose a label because I wasn't going to have a security clearance. And, you know, the CIA, they need to control you somehow, some way. What do you prefer? Do you want to be called a liar, or do you want to be called a crazy? And I'm like, I'm not a liar. No, oh no, I'm not a liar. And then I was told, Ross told me, well, then they're going to have to label you delusional, which means crazy, to control you. And I said, well, do I have to be either? I mean, and then he's like, you have to choose one. And I said, well, if I have to choose one, yeah, I guess delusional, even though, but it's not true what I said. Yeah. And he's like, I know, but to keep their secrets, they have to label you something. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, you know, I don't have a security clearance. So, you know, when you have a security clearance, under penalty of federal law, like, you go to prison, you go to federal prison if you break the law and reveal top secret information or whatever classified information. And that is threat enough for people who have security clearance to keep this, you know, keep our country's secret. But, you know, they didn't have that control over Claire. No, sorry. You know, I was given a lot of information and traumatized simultaneously so that I wouldn't remember it, you know. You know, I was given memory drugs, all kinds of stuff. I was a minor when I was told a lot of information. You know, that's a loophole in the law if you're a minor. Any CIA operative can tell you all their secrets. And that's what my father did. He told me all, I don't know if he told me everything, but he certainly told me a lot. David, he used date, RAPEDRUGS, and he confessed, but he DRUGGED me first. And that's legal. He's not breaking any laws, and he knew I would remember, because that's what happens. I remember stuff. I mean, it might take a decade, it might take a day, it might take an hour. Usually it takes a while because it's in a different part of my brain, and I have to, I don't know, something has to trigger it. And then I remember a lot. I'm a witness. My eyes are wide open and I see everything. I'm a witness, but everybody thinks I'm out cold, and they act the way they wouldn't want me to see them acting, and not understanding that I might remember. And that's why, David did what he did, so, I mean, that was this is how he's releasing this information through me, right? It's classified. It's top secret. It shouldn't be. It's criminal. The CIA should not be allowed to classify crimes so that they get away with crimes. It shouldn't. This is a total misuse, fraudulent use of our classified information laws. It's an abuse of the law. But they just keep doing it. I don't know. I don't understand why it's still an issue. I mean, our government is fraudulent. Donald Trump is a criminal, the biggest criminal of all criminals, okay? All right? I mean, Trumpers, I know you can't see it, you're blind, you have something missing in your brain, and you can't see what's right in front of you, and I'm sorry about that. You either have to be in on it, and a devil yourself, in total absolute denial, or really stupid, mentally retarded, to like Trump. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And, Donald Trump's true identity is my twin. And, this is my problem. My twin wanted to be firstborn, but she wasn't. She was given up for adoption. I'm sorry about that. My mother only wanted one baby. She didn't want an abnormal, unhealthy baby to take care of, and have to reveal to all that it was because she was injected with heroin and drank gin that she had abnormal, two unhealthy, abnormal triplets. I was the one that was normal. I was not the biggest baby. And this is my twin's issue. She was the biggest baby. And I guess in her mind, if I was the biggest, I was the firstborn, baby. No, you weren't. You weren't normal. And, I was the baby that had to lead the way, okay? And just because I conserved my energy, preserving my mind, and as a result ended up a little more petite, doesn't mean that you were the firstborn, or that that you're the one that's normal and healthy. You were never normal and healthy. You were a sick baby. Everybody coddled you, and that's why they swapped babies at the hospital, so you'd have our full-blooded brother to replace me as your twin. You weren't doing well all by yourself. You know it. You were unhealthy and not normal. You weren't. And even though you were the bigger baby, and you're still not healthy, and you're still not normal. And I know you don't see it because you're God's gift. Well, no, you are God, and you are the gift that you offer to humanity. I know. That is what Trump thinks. Trump thinks he's like the world's most perfect person in all of history. That he's a classic narcissist. That's my twin. Because parts of her brain did not develop properly. They're not, she does not test in the normal range for certain parts of her brain. Some of her brain is underdeveloped, but she's very advanced in so many ways. And this is what makes her think that there must be some mistake, you know? That's what it is. But she knows she didn't grow up in my family. She grew up in, you know, there were some relatives who adopted her, and they adopted, you know, they swapped the babies at the hospital, and my mother gave birth to my full brother, and I named him Greg, and they raised him, you know. It was their mother gave birth to, I don't want to tell you, I mean, you know, he grew up with me, and he threw me away, and he abused me with my parents. He became my abuser, even though he was the younger child. Usually it's the older child that torments the younger one. It was the reverse. And, you know, I was born in into a family of monsters, basically. And I had a monster twin that, thank goodness, I didn't grow up together with, because she would have, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't like her at all. And, you know, obviously she's really jealous of me. Thank you. And I appreciate it, Dean. You know, she just wants to control me. And I'm a person, you know, that's been through so much abuse that I'm very sensitive about people trying to control me. No one can control me. Okay? Go control somebody else. You can't control me. If you want to be my friend, no, you can't control me. If you want to be my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, don't try to control me. You won't succeed. I'm very sensitive to people trying to control me, because everybody's been controlling me my entire life, and, you know. Anyway, she wants to be in control. She wants to be top dog, literally. You know, she's a lesbian. She's married. But she likes women, okay? And she'd really like to be in total domination of me. And it's never going to happen. She can't just be my friend. She can't just be my twin. She can't, you know, she can't. She goes crazy. I mean, if she sees me and she runs away. She can't even look at me. She can't. It's really frustrating. And I've never officially met her, but I was able to get a good look at her in Chick-fil-A recently, for the first time in my life. Okay, I've never set eyes on my twin knowing she was my twin, because we went to summer camp together, music camp, and she used a different name. She used the name Dorothy. You know, she had the Dorothy Hamill haircut still. We both got the Dorothy Hamill haircut at one time. She kept hers because she has coarser hair than I do. This is what I was told. And my hair is finer and it's curlier. And the Dorothy Hamill haircut looked really good on her head. It didn't look as good on me. I mean, I look good with short hair, but the Dorothy Hamill haircut didn't look as good on me as it did on her. She kept that Dorothy Hamill haircut all through, you know. I got mine in 5th grade, and she kept hers. And by the time I saw her, we were 15, going into freshman year of high school. I had no idea that was my twin. She was more developed than me because she was heavier, but she wasn't really heavy at that time. She stole my boyfriend. And this guy he's a gay man today. He was the star of the camp, and I was devastated when she stole my boyfriend. Devastated. And she stole my ex-fiance, and thanks to me, he finally married her. I encouraged that. You're welcome. And that's it. We weren't meant to. I'm not a twin, really. I mean, even though genetically I am, I didn't always know I had a twin because my family didn't want me to know. And I grew up as like a single birth, and I'm glad. That was the best way to grow up, even though I always wanted to be a twin. I wasn't meant to be a twin. Not really. All right. I know. I'm talking too much. Too much chat. I'm getting too chatty. I'm sorry. Let me continue. Santa Barbara. He's really emphasizing Santa Barbara, and this is where it all happened, and that's the name of someone I connected David with. Her name was Barbara, and she was my replacement twin with my twin for a while. They met at Santa Clara College. That's where my twin grew up. That's where we were born, in Santa Clara County, and my twin grew up there, and she went to that college, and that's where Barbara went. All right, let's go. What's the matter, Dean?
You know what you and I are?
What?
We are the doers.
The what?
We are the doers.
The doers, huh?
You know what a doer is?
What?
U.S. Navy SEAL.
U.S. Navy SEAL. Yeah. Well, I'm supposed to be a part of the Army. I'm supposed to be. When I was a little girl, I was supposed to be a member of the Army. I know it sounds so silly, but I'm supposed to be. I'm in the Army. Don't ask me. Okay.
Armies and grunts.
Yeah, I know, but that's the only branch of the military that's in the Constitution, and it's the biggest branch as well. All right. Right, this was the last chance. I had already failed to change my life in the last semester. I must not fail again. I remembered how hard it was to keep up those 2 classes in the autumn. The people in them made me feel so miserable. I knew that if the same thing happens in the coming semester, I would end up dropping all of my classes, and if that happened, all of my hope would be doomed. On the morning of the first day, I donned my fabulous Armani exchange shirt and put on my new Gucci sunglasses that my mother gave me. I admired myself in the mirror for a few moments and began to feel a surge of enthusiasm. I wanted everyone to see me looking like that. I was hopeful that some girls would admire me. I said to myself that there was no way I could possibly have trouble with getting girls now. I stopped by a Starbucks. He put a T after the A. I stopped by a Starbucks to buy a latte and set off for my college with confidence that I would appear as a superior gentleman to all of the students there. I was a superior gentleman. That was what I was born to be, and it was now time to show it to the world. It was a bright sunny day as I ascended the familiar steps up to the beautiful college campus of SBCC. I immediately went to the restroom to look at myself in the mirror a few times, just so that I can feel more assured of myself. Yes, I thought, I am the image of beauty and supremacy. He's got some typos. He did not edit this section of the manifesto quite as thoroughly as the earlier part. I am the image of beauty and supremacy. I kept saying it over and over again. What is this supremacy? Why do you have to be supreme? As if it was a mantra. Oh, he said mantra. That's exactly what the words Nichiren Buddhists chant. It's a mantra. If you want more information about the words that Nichiren Buddhists chant, please go to sgi.org or sgi-usa.org or buddhability.com. When I crossed the renowned bridge that connected the 2 halves of the campus, I felt as if everyone was admiring me. As I passed by groups of girls, I pretended to imagine that they secretly adored and wanted me. You know, David, he used to chant that girls would treat him like God. Do you know that? He chanted to be God. He did. He literally did. He told me this, when he was confessing and all that. And that's why everybody in the SGI, all the girls fawned over him and treated him like God. I mean, he was I was one of them. That's why he chanted for that. He chanted for that kind of worship, and he got it. He really did for a long time. When I knew him, he did. Yeah, see, and this is the same mentality here in this manifesto. It's just like David. And I know a lot of people would never imagine that David would think these things or, be chanting that way. He comes off as this mysterious, enchanting person, and I'm sure he chants to be perceived that way. But he just, in the SGI, in the Buddhist community, he always just seems so effortless, so graceful, and natural. He'd come and then he'd leave. You'd see him for a little while, and he was very charming and nice, and everybody fawned over him, and then he'd leave and he'd disappear. Everybody would always be, oh, there's David, He chanted for that. Because look, he's talking about it here. I felt as if everyone was, that's how David would chant. He chanted for everyone to admire him, women to throw themselves at him, and this is what literally happened for a very long time. I don't know what's happening now, but as I passed by groups of girls, and he did this when he was in the SGI, or when I knew him, a long time ago. What does it say? Okay. As I passed by groups of girls, I pretended to imagine that they secretly adored and wanted me. After all, that was how it was meant to be. The more I walked around campus, the more I tried to convince myself that that was the case. This is what David did. He chanted that way, and everybody did admire him. Everybody wanted to be with him. Everybody was so, in love with him. He chanted for everyone to fall in love with him, and they did. Okay. My first class was sociology, and I waited until everyone was seated before I walked in. I came in through the front entrance so that everyone could look at my fabulous self. Oh my goodness. To my utter dismay, I saw that no one turned their head to look at me at all. No girl tilted a head or lifted a pretty little eyebrow at my approach. After all that effort, I was still being treated like I was invisible. Oh, I don't know. I think you should just feel good about yourself, whether you get attention or not. You don't need people to show you attention, to feel good about yourself. All right. The sociology class flew by like a breeze, and my next class was math. In this class, I saw one of the prettiest girls I had ever seen in my life. She was the only pretty girl in the class, and she was absolutely stunning. Of course, she didn't even notice me as I walked in. Her beauty was so intimidating that I couldn't bring myself to sit near her out of fear of her judgment. As the lecture proceeded, I couldn't help myself from constantly glancing at her, admiring every inch of her enticing body, from her silky blonde hair to her smooth, skinny, lightly tanned legs. The most beautiful thing about her was her face. It was a face that broke my heart the second I laid eyes on it. I wanted her with so much intensity, and I constantly fantasized about her during my masturbation sessions. This was the kind of girl who was always meant to be my girlfriend. Oh, yeah, he was always in search of the perfect woman, which I failed to be, I mean, I was just, he couldn't help it.
Even after 10 years.
No, he couldn't help. in reality, he couldn't resist me, okay? But in his mind, in his little mind's reality, there was this perfect woman somewhere, some off in the distance, that he had to always be looking for. And, you know, in reality, there was no such woman, but in his mind there was. That was David. He had this very intense fantasy life. You know, he was not in reality. Let's just put it that way. And I'm like, yo, wake up! I'm right here, baby! You're perfect woman right here! You know, I was looking for the perfect, you know, he had me, he wanted me, you know, I was there, you know. But there was always something somewhere else better than reality. It was, you know, it was like a fantasy land. Well, you know, I was the woman who broke through, and I was the woman he got the closest to, the most, he experienced the most intimacy with me, and we had a great time. We were really compatible. It was great. Of course, I didn't know I was I was in this intimate situation with a serial killer criminal, you know. Had no idea. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have chosen to be with somebody like that, but it happened, and as soon as I realized it, you know, it was a gradual process to remove him, to separate from him, you know. That's not marriage material in my mind. You know, and you know, when somebody abuses you like that, you know, like he did, you know, behind my back, kind of, you know, drugging me, and abusing, abusing me. You know, I don't want to be married or share my life with a devil. I've never been interested in that. I thought he was this pure man, and I was, you know, just like this guy was pure, I thought David was pure like this. It's so funny. You know, I had this idea he was this inaccessible man that you know, I thought he was really, really pure, and that's why he was so inaccessible to all us, to everyone. And I wanted to melt that wall and break through and save him. You know, that was kind of like the dynamic. I had no idea that he was the opposite of pure, and that he was, you know, such an evil genius, you know. And I mean, I wasn't interested in that. It was the facade. I fell in love with his facade. He had a facade that was beautiful, but it's not who he really is. He uses that to cover up who he really is. And once I realized that, it was really a tough realization. You know, I had to regroup and remove him from my life, you know, because he was tormenting me and hurting me. And anyway, okay. But yeah, he, you know, I see that, you know, this is a really good window. And, you know, I don't think David could have put his name on this. You know, he wouldn't want people to know this is what he really thinks. It's only if I found this and realized that he wrote it. You know, that's what he always used to say. Oh, if you remember this, you can tell everybody. That's what he would tell me when he drugged me. He's like, you have permission. If you remember this for yourself, you can tell anyone you want. You can tell the world. That's what he said. And you know, and that's this too. You know, if you recognize that this is me, you can share this with the world. You can tell the world it's me, you know, basically. And there's a part of him that wants everyone to know, you know. He wants the world to know what he has achieved. You know, he didn't do it just to please himself. He wants everyone to know what he has done. And yeah, I mean, it's sick. but yeah, that was David. He was, reality wasn't good enough for him. Reality, you know, he was separate. There was a separation from reality in him and his psyche. And I guess that's very schizophrenic. I don't know. It's obvious. It's also kind of a symptom of trauma, as well. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, so reality needed to be corrected, right? Something like that. Like in his head was reality, and this didn't match what was in his head. And so that, real reality, he needed to correct it to match what was in his head. And that's, there's a confusion there. There's some kind of psychosis there, right? Which I would say is schizophrenic. I don't know, but, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. There are a lot of people who study criminal minds, and I'm very familiar with criminal minds, but I haven't studied. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a student who studies that. So I don't, it's a fascination of mine that I would like to understand more. I'd like to see what people who study those minds have to say about the mental health, like what diagnosis is that. I'm thinking schizoaffective because he's got a little of the schizophrenic tendencies, the delusion, the separation from reality, with the spikes. And he's a rapid cycler. Dean, my husband, is a rapid cycler for sure. And we're all related. So, it runs in the family. I mean, where you can get really hot, you can spike in an instant, the rage can come out of nowhere in an instant and spike really quickly, and then it's gone, just rapid. It's really hard to to stabilize a mind like that. And it can be very dangerous. I mean, not always. I mean, Dean is not a dangerous person. He's just very angry about what was done to me. It's righteous rage. I mean, but it is over the top rage that needs to be harnessed in a little, All right, I'm sorry, I'm going into too much chattiness. I don't know. All right, let's continue. The most beautiful thing about her was her face. It was a face that broke my heart the second I laid eyes on it. I wanted her with so much intensity, and I constantly fantasized about her during my... Okay, I didn't need to repeat that. Sorry. This was the kind of girl who was always meant to be my girlfriend. This was the girl that I was meant to go through college in Santa Barbara with. My life would only have meaning if I could go through college with a girlfriend like her. See, it's like so severe, so... It's not realistic at all. What about what she wants? It's like everything is about him, right? It's a little narcissistic, right? It's like, you do what I say, and if you don't behave the way I want you to, then I destroy you, kind of thing. Right? Okay. As I made my way back from school one day during the first week, I was stopped at a stoplight in Isla Vista when I saw two hot blonde girls... Blonde girls, gosh, he's so obsessed, waiting at the bus stop. I was dressed in one of my nice shirts, so I looked at them and smiled. They looked at me, but they didn't even deign to smile back. That he used that word before. Deign, he likes that word. They just looked away as if I was a fool. As I drove away, I became infuriated. It was such an insult. This was the way all girls treated me, and I was sick and tired of it. In a rage, I made a U-turn, pulled up to their bus stop, and splashed my Starbucks latte all over them. Oh my God! This is the third time he has done this with somebody in public. I mean, I think you can go to the police for that, can you? I think so. That's kind of a That's a form of violence. I mean, hopefully it wasn't that hot. You know, they could have burnt them. I felt a feeling. Okay, see, typos. He did not edit this part of the manifesto as well. I felt. Okay, I felt a feeling of spiteful satisfaction. I felt. I'm gonna just. He meant to leave that out. I felt a spiteful satisfaction as I saw it stain their jeans. I then quickly speeded away before they could catch my license plate number. How dare those girls snub me in such a fashion? How dare they insult me so? I raged to myself repeatedly. They deserved the punishment I gave them. It was such a pity that my latte wasn't hot enough to burn them. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, but you just threw away $5, didn't you? I mean, a latte, I don't know what, he didn't say if it was a venti. That's like $6, $7 nowadays. Those girls deserve to be dumped in boiling water for the crime of not giving me the attention and adoration I so rightfully deserve. Dean. This incident soured my first week of college, but for the sake of all my hopes and dreams, I tried to forget about it. Okay, it sounded like he got a lot of satisfaction. I mean, it was a very, I don't know, he's getting used to throwing drinks on people. That's not really good. Maybe it started with his stepmother, right? She hit the drink out of his hand. Yeah, maybe that's where he got the idea from, or subconsciously got the idea from. For the month of February, I continued. The month of February is David's birthday month. I continued with the trend of attending my college classes and trying to make the most of it. Well, that's an okay attitude. With each passing day, my confidence about how I appeared to everyone started to wane. I still didn't make any friends, and I still didn't talk to any girls. By the end of the month, I began to question what I was doing so wrong. I saw obnoxious slobs who dressed in basketball shorts and t-shirts walking with hot girls, and there I was, decked out in Armani all by myself. It was preposterous. I should have been the one walking with the hot girls. I soon realized that no one cared at all about how well I dressed. No girls admired me. No girls even gave me a second look. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. I soon found out the name of the beautiful girl in my math class. Her name was Brittany Story. Being the obsessed stalker that I was, at least he admits it, I looked her up on Facebook, and what I found shattered my already wounded heart to pieces. She had a boyfriend. Not only that, but her boyfriend was the type of boy I have always hated and despised. A tall, muscular surfer jock with a buzz cut. As I looked at all the pictures of the two of them together, I shivered with pure hatred. I could physically feel the hatred burn through my entire body. I wanted to kill them both. Boy, it is full-blown now, isn't it? And I was capable of doing it. Brittany's Story should have been mine, and if I can't have her, no one should. Oh my God, that's exactly what David told me about OJ. Oh, I understand OJ. You know, I think it was actually, well, it might have been late 1994, or it could have been 95, okay, or around the time of the trial. It probably was around the time of the trial. And I'm just trying to think, where was I living? I feel like I was still living in Marina Del Rey, though. See, right after Marina Del Rey, I moved to Los Feliz in the fall, like in September. And then, and I lived there a number of months, and then I moved up north to St. Helena in the Napa Valley. I moved there like, I think it, wait. I want to say August, and I think maybe it was August. Yeah, I guess I lived in Los Feliz quite a while, and then it was up north, and yeah, that's where the O.J. Simpson trial happened, I was up in St. Helena, and David and I watched the trial on TV together. When he'd come up all the time. We had a better relationship when I moved out of LA. It drew us closer. It helped our relationship when I moved away, and he had his space. Yeah, I know. But I think he was saying that really soon after the murders, though. I really feel like I was still living in Marina Del Rey, and that would have been the summer of 1994 that he said that to me. He's like, I understand. He told me, and I said this in a previous live stream before I read this. I understand that, OJ, if I can't have, if he couldn't have Nicole, nobody could, and I was like, whoa. When he told me that, I'm like, what do you mean? And he didn't answer me. That's exactly what he said. And look at this. It's in here. It's in the manifesto. And I guess he wants me to point this out. I wanted to kill both of them, and I was capable of doing it. If I can't have her, no one should, kind of thing. Yeah. That's what he said. He said, of course he knew OJ didn't do it. It was his goal to frame him. But that's what he told me. I fantasize about capturing the two of them and stripping the skin off her boyfriend's flesh while making her watch. Dean talks about stripping skin off people, right? But it's my abusers, like the people who hurt me in the past. And I don't even think like that. Like, who would think to skin somebody? It's kind of weird, It's like, it's only a certain brain that would think of stuff like that. Making her watch. Why must my life be so full of torment and hatred? I question the universe with turmoil roiling inside me. Yeah, he uses the term universe like Nietzsche and Buddhists do. Huh?
You took somebody's face off, and you cut their hands off. They couldn't identify who they were.
All right, Dean. Well, DNA would tell the whole story. Okay. All right. Anyway. I dropped my math class immediately after learning that Brittany had a boyfriend. Oh my God. I couldn't look at her beauty anymore, knowing that some punk was able to enjoy having sex with her every day. I can only imagine how heavenly that guy's life must be. He was in heaven and I was in hell. Shortly after dropping my math class, I decided to drop all my other classes in a rage. There was no point to it anymore. No matter how hard I tried, girls were not attracted to me. What was the point of going through college, getting a degree, and finding some mundane professional job afterwards if I could never experience the pleasure of girls along the way? I didn't want to torture myself with going to college and looking at all of those beautiful girls I could never have. Nothing beneficial came of it. There was no hope for me to ever have a desirable college life. My life was devoid of friends, devoid of girls, devoid of sex, and devoid of love. I realized that I will never be able to look back on my youth, the time that I should be having a blast, and feel satisfied about all of the happy moments, all of the happy memories I have. There were no happy memories, only misery, loneliness, rejection, and pain. The only thing I could do was even the score. I wanted to make everyone else suffer just as they made me suffer. I wanted revenge. Dean, what do you think about that?
He needed to punch out.
He needed to punch out. He needed help.
No.
He needed serious help.
Ouch. Okay.
Dean, I don't.
You go to the pharmacy, you get a big.
Dean,
needle,
stop. That is not an option.
You stick your arm in.
Dean.
Everyone goes to it.
Okay.
Air bubble hits your heart, you die.
Okay, he needed help, right? He needed help.
I'd have.
Dean,
I'd
stop.
put one punch in. And when the air bubble hits your heart, you're dead.
All right, Dean.
No pain, you just.
All right, Dean. When I
know
drop.
why? The heart cannot manage oxygen.
Okay. When I dropped my college classes, I crossed a threshold that I knew existed but never actually believed I would cross. It completely ended all hope I had of living a desirable life in Santa Barbara. I realized that I would be a virgin forever. Boy, he just is so extreme. condemned to suffer rejection and humiliation at the hands of women because they don't fancy me, because their sexual attractions are flawed. Yeah, it's them. It doesn't mean that you're unattractive. It just means you haven't happened upon the right person yet. That's it. They are attracted to the wrong type of male. He wants a certain kind of girl to like him. They are attracted to the wrong type of male. I always mused to myself that I would rather die than suffer such an existence. And I knew that if it came to that, I would exact my revenge upon the world in the most catastrophic way possible. At least then I could die knowing that I fought back against the injustice that has been dealt to me. Ever since my life took a very dark turn at the age of 17, I often had fantasies of how malevolently satisfying it would be to punish all of the popular kids and young couples for the crime of having a better life than me. I dreamed of how sweet it would be to torture or kill every single young couple I saw. However, as I said previously in this story, I never thought I would actually go through with these drastic desires. I had hope inside me that I could one day have a happy life. I am on 101 and I have 36 pages left. Wow. Okay. It was only when I first moved to Santa Barbara that I started considering the possibility of having to carry out a violent act of revenge as the final solution to dealing with all of the injustices I've had to face at the hands of women in society. I came up with a name for this after I saw all of the good-looking young couples walking around my college and in the town of Isla Vista. I named it the Day of Retribution. It would be a day in which I exact my ultimate retribution and revenge on all of the hedonistic scum who enjoyed lives of pleasure that I don't deserve. That they don't deserve. Lives of pleasure that they don't deserve. If I can't have it, I will destroy it. I will destroy all women because I can never have them. I will make them all suffer for rejecting me. I will arm myself with deadly weapons and wage a war against all women and the men they are attracted to. And I will slaughter them like the animals they are. If they won't accept me among them, then they are my enemies. They showed me no mercy, and in turn, I will show them no mercy. Like a mirror. Okay? The prospect will be so sweet, and justice will ultimately be served. And, of course, I would have to die in the act to avoid going to prison. Okay? That is when I realized that this threshold existed, and if I crossed it, I will have to carry out this day of retribution. It has remained stagnant in the back of my mind ever since until this point. After dropping my spring classes at Santa Barbara City College, I knew that the day of retribution was now very possible. I even wrote about it in my diary, but I later tore out the pages because I feared someone might find them. A shiver ran through me, realizing how twisted my world had become, that I would have to resort to doing something that I would consider unthinkable a few years ago. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to live. Thinking about the day of retribution made me feel trapped. I wanted a way out. You always have a way out with Buddha. Buddhahood is in every world. He's obviously feeling trapped in an animalistic world and wanting to the world of animality. He wants sex. He wants to physically dominate everything, everyone, that's animality. A lower world in the world. And when Nichiren Buddhism, it's hell, hunger, animality, right? Did I skip something? Hell, hunger, animality, anger. The fifth is humanity, right? Sixth, There are 10 worlds. Humanity. I might have missed them. You know, that's base. You know, top is Buddhahood, Bodhisattvahood, realization, learning. Okay, so that's 4, and I have hell, animality, or hunger, animality, anger. Okay, so that's 4, and I have the upper 4, I have the lower 4, and there's humanity. And there's probably one other one, yeah, because that I'm missing one, and I guess I can look it up really quick. I know you don't want me to, you just want me to get through this, but let me just quickly see if I can find it. Yeah. 10 worlds. Nature and Buddhism. Right. Hell, hunger, animality, anger, humanity, or it's humanity. I mean, humanity. Oh, okay. Rapture. Right. There's humanity, and I was combining them in my mind. Heaven or rapture. Right, rapture. I got it. Learning. Yeah, so it's hell. So the first world is hell. The second world is hunger. And then it's animality, and then it's anger, and then it's humanity, and then it's rapture. I forgot that one. And then it's learning. And then it's realization. And then it's bodhisattvahood. And then it's Buddhahood. Take off. Okay. I wanted to live. Thinking about the day of retribution made me feel trapped. I wanted a way out. Okay. After some deep contemplation, you know, this is a deep contemplation. It makes me definitely think of David when I hear that phrase. I had the revelation or realization that the day of retribution wasn't the only way I could make up for all of the suffering I've had to experience. I could somehow become a multi-millionaire at a young age. Then my lifestyle would instantly become better than most people my age. I would be able to get revenge on my enemies just by living above them and lording over them. That was a form of happy, peaceful revenge, and it became my only hope. Once again, I started to desperately ponder over ways that I could become extremely wealthy at a young age. It was my only way out. Okay, come on. Okay. This is when I realized that wealth was the only way I could lose my virginity, the only way I could have the beautiful girlfriend I know I deserve. Due to all of my past experiences with girls, it is evident that girls are not attracted to me as a person. They are repulsed by me. The only way I could possibly become worthy of their love and attraction is if I become wealthy. In the beginning of March, I went home in a sullen and disturbed mood. I did my best to hide it from my parents. I also had to hide the fact that I dropped all of my college classes and I kept up the pretense that I was still attending college, talking to my father about my lectures and so forth. The weekend that I visited home was quite an eventful one, and I had been looking forward to it for some time. On Sunday, March 11, 2012, I went with my mother and sister to a private, exclusive Katy Perry concert. And on March 12th, 2012, I went with my father and Sumaya to the red carpet premiere of The Hunger Games. The invitation to the private Katy Perry concert was actually meant for Rob Limelson, as the concert was held for extremely wealthy people who were clients of NetJets, a private jet company. Rob had no interest in such things, so he gave the tickets to my mother. That was nice. I was eager to go because I loved attending exclusive events. It made me feel special. For most of the time spent at the concert, I just walked around and, typo, ate food at the buffet tables while everyone waited for Katy Perry to perform. There was upbeat music playing the entire time, and a lot of wealthy families with their kids attended. Every family there must have had a net worth of at least $20 million. Really? To be able to hire private jets. That can't be. I mean, you can hire a private jet for one outing. I mean, you don't have to do it all the time. I bet it's not that much. Okay. I tried to pretend as if I was part of a wealthy family. I should be. That was the life I was meant to live. I would be if only my damnable mother had married into wealth instead of being selfish. Yeah, that is your mother's mission on earth, to make you happy. And she is selfish to not do what you want her to do. It's her life. It's, it would be her marriage, but she would be sacrificing herself for you, and doing what you want her to do. Yeah, I know David would use his mother like that a lot, his real mother in real life. But she was kind of a selfless character, it was her personality. She was not a healthy person, and he had to manage her, that way. And it sounds like maybe it was really more codependent than I realized. He made it seem like, I have to manage my mother because she can't manage herself. But maybe it was a codependent thing. I mean, I suspected maybe it was a little bit, but, obviously this reveals possibly that it was even more than I suspected. He did that with me behind my back. He made everyone think that, he had to manage me or something. And it's like, no, babe. Yeah, he did. He really slandered me behind my back. Everybody thought I was just, he acted like he didn't like me or whatever, behind my back. When he was with me, it was great. We had a really great relationship in a lot of ways. I mean, if he wasn't, a serial killer criminal, I mean, I'd still be with him today. We had a really deep, obviously we have a very deep connection, I'll always love him. But yeah, there was a time when I was so in love with him, crazy in love. And, it was mutual. It really was. He didn't want anyone else to know, though. It was our private little thing. And, behind my back, he'd trash me to others so that they would think that we didn't have what we had. And it was really humiliating. Everybody thought I was this pathetic person. He just painted me to be some pathetic person I wasn't. And, he really got off humiliating me. He's very sick. I didn't, it's been so long since he's been in my life. I forget how sick he was and is. I do. I really do. And so many people in the organization just thought he was so together and, such a professional person. They wouldn't have ever dreamt he was this way, They wouldn't have ever suspected that, I always had a bad reputation in the organization, and so it was easy for them to believe, all the trash he was telling them about me. But it was actually the reverse, He was kind of projecting onto me, what he was, He really was. And I guess now, possibly now people will know the truth, right? The truth always prevails. It might take a long time. I went out with him, almost 30 years ago, right? And it's taken 30 years, but maybe the truth is about to be revealed for all to see finally. And people will wake up about me. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I was born to. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that I was born to just do nothing and die. I feel like I have a really powerful mission with all the amazing things I've done and overcome and all the odds I've beat, you know. My story is like no other I've ever heard in my life. And here I am sitting all by myself, you know, talking to my computer screen. You know, talking to my husband, talking to my puppies and my kitties, you know, Elizabeth. It's, you know, I don't know why I went through all that crap. Why did I go through so much shit if I'm not meant to tell my story to the world? I mean, what was the point of it all? Was it just a waste of time? I just can't believe that it was. You know, they went to a lot of effort to, you know, bring me into existence. It was a lot of money and a lot of effort to bring me into existence. And I just can't believe that all that time, money, effort was a waste. I can't believe it. You know, I just can't. I mean, I know I have an important mission that I'm meant to complete. It's not supposed to be an aborted mission. I was aborted by somebody in the SGI. Okay, that we were implanted in different wombs, and my mom's womb was the charm, and because she was Catholic and she didn't believe in abortion. Yeah, I mean, I think Marilyn Monroe was our first womb, and then our second womb was a future leader in the SGI who aborted us because she was a young woman and she wasn't ready to be a mother. And that's how we got separate. You know, my twin and I were joined at one vertebrae in the back of our neck. We were like a butterfly. And then we got separated because the acid they injected into the uterus dissolved the link, you know, that we had behind on the back of our necks. And I was the embryo that stayed in there, and you know, no, I'm not going anywhere. And I got 2 extra weeks of development as the result. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And I remember this for myself. I know it seems like crazy, but I remember it. You know, it took a long time, but I remember my birth. That's how I know my mother was lying to me my whole life. I remembered it. She used to say, I knew your cry in the hospital. I knew your cry. You had this melodic voice, and I knew your cry anywhere, you know, and you were crying, and they brought you to me and put you in my arms, and you stopped crying. That's what she told me my whole life, right? Well, finally I remembered the real event. I was born, and that doctor, he slapped me so hard. I was so upset. See, I was purple when I was born, okay? And I guess they thought I was going to, you know, it was because I had a lack of oxygen. I was turning purple. And the doctor, you know, had to do something, right? And he slapped me on my butt. And I was like, excuse me. I was like so traumatized. I was like, what did you just do? I was getting ready to breathe. Okay, I was just taking in the moment. I'm serious. I was that aware as a newborn baby. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. Nobody said anything to me. I just know I was born purple. That's all that I was told. Of course, Daddy told me his version of my birth, because he was there in the room, you know, disguised as a woman nurse. Okay, but this is my description because I remember it for myself. You know, I remember coming out, you know, it was all dark and it took a long time. And then I come out and I'm taking in my surroundings and I'm taking my time and I'm turning purple, I guess, because I haven't taken my first breath yet. Okay. I needed to take my time. I was taking in my surroundings like, oh, okay. And I was just getting ready to breathe. And this horrible doctor man has the nerve to slap me on my bottom like that. I was like, you know, I was like really upset. Like, how could you? What kind of man are you? You know, I was really upset. and that's why I cried. And of course they're happy I'm crying. Oh, she's fine. You know, yeah, I am fine. Yeah, but not anymore because you slapped me on the butt. It really, really hurt me what he did. You know, he slapped me hard because I guess he was scared. You know, he's a doctor. He doesn't want the baby to die and not be able to breathe. I was fine. I just was taking my time. And he had the nerve to ruin the moment for me. I mean, I'm sure they were thrilled. You know, oh, healthy baby. I don't know, maybe they knew my mother was a drug addict, alcoholic, and they were worried about her babies. I don't know. There was no problem, okay? I was just taking my time, and he ruined the experience for me. I felt so betrayed by him. I mean, that was my experience. And then, Daddy, it was Daddy who was the nurse. You know, I was crying, you know, all upset at the doctor, and it was the nurse, who was Daddy in disguise, who took me in her arms and started chanting. And as soon as I heard the chanting, I stopped crying. And I was like, I'm home. You know, because I had heard chanting my whole, while I was in utero the whole time. You know, I was like, okay, now I can stop. Okay, I'm fine. But my mother's story was that they put me in her arms, and she could hear it. She said that, she'd hear me crying like down the hall, and she knew it was her baby because my melodic cry. And she heard, and they came in, and then like they put me in her arms, and I immediately stopped crying. It was this, but it's not true. What she said was a lie. Okay. And I know because I remember it as the little baby born, and I know she lied. I was crying. I was not down the hall. I was in the room. I was crying, all upset about the doctor. And then they put me in the nurse's arms. And of course, that's Daddy. He chanted in my ear. And I was like, oh, that's what happened. And Daddy didn't, I think Daddy did tell me from his perspective. I don't really remember it as well as my perspective, okay? That was my perspective. Okay. So all right, so he's talking about his parents and how his mother should have married into wealth instead of being selfish. And he talks about his father. If only my failure of a father had made better decisions with his directing career instead of wasting his money on that stupid documentary, he would have been wealthier or better or happier. I couldn't help but feel a bitter form of envy at all of the rich kids at the concert. They grew up in lavish mansions. You don't know that. Okay, that was just his imagination. Lavish mansions indulge in excessive opulence and will never have to worry about anything in their pleasurable, hedonistic lives. I would take great pleasure in watching all of those rich families burn alive. He sounds like Dean. Dean talks about all my abusers. He'd love to torture them. He talks about in detail what he wants to do, how he wants to chop them up, and what body parts what he's going to do with all the body parts. Dean has this kind of rage too, and is very detailed in his vision of what he would like to do to my abusers in the past. And here it is. He's describing what he wants to do with all the people who have what he wants, right? This guy, Elliot, Roger, David, whatever. Burn alive. I would take great pleasure in watching all of those rich families burn alive. Looking at all of them really drilled in my mind the importance of wealth. Wealth is one of the most important defining factors of self-worth and superiority. I would say otherwise, because I would say that the true measure of self-esteem is having nothing and still feeling good about yourself and having that's true confidence. That's true self-esteem. Like not having wealth or material to as a crutch, to make yourself feel worthy, or to have a good, healthy self-worth. I mean, the true test is like taking everything away from somebody, even their family. Like in my case, all their money, all their fame, fortune, everything. Just take it, just strip it all away. And if a person can still conjure up a high self-esteem, that's the true test. If you can hold your head up high and feel good about yourself without any of the things that everybody leans on and uses as a crutch, because you can't take any of that material with you no matter what you do. And that's not true self-esteem. True self-esteem is when you have nothing and you can still hold your head up high. I mean, no makeup, no, this is my natural hair, dressed down, I'm kind of an exaggeration of that. And yeah, I'm more confident today than I ever have been in my life. And I have nothing. I mean, I have a husband. We have a little house here in Augusta, Georgia. We have 5 beautiful animals, 2 dogs, 3 cats, 2 outdoor stray kitties. I take care of Elizabeth. We have a lot to be grateful for in that way. I've had nothing before. I've been homeless before without anything. I've had my freedom taken away, I've had nothing. Everything's been stripped from me. I have, I've been allowed to have a little something, but it's the very minimal. I'm in serious debt right now. And I can't, I work really hard. I take care of Elizabeth 24/7. I can't do any other job because she depends on me. And, I don't know, it's a long story, but I can't, they can't, she ran out of money. There's no money. I had anticipated that she'd be able to get some VA payments, VA benefits. They won't give it to her because she's 92 years old. They don't give old people benefits, apparently. I didn't dream that would be the case. I thought that, once if she ever ran out of money, that, the VA would kick in and I'd get most of my salary, but through them and her benefits with them, it didn't they won't give her a penny. And, any other benefits with her pension, there's all these technicalities, all these insurance companies, pension people, they don't want to pay out benefits if they don't have to, and they if they can find a way to disqualify you, they will. And she has money available to her for her medical expenses, and I can't get them to give it to her for me taking care of her. And it's just money sitting there unused, and I can't access it. It's just infuriating. This Elliot Rodger talks about being so infuriated. It's me who's so infuriated, so fed up, and yet I'm not like him, obviously. I'm frustrated, and if you don't express yourself, if you don't get it out, I mean, yeah, this is what happens. I mean, look at him. He's like a walking time bomb. I'm not. Thank goodness I was given, Daddy taught me how to manage the anguish that happens when so much wrong is done to you. All right. Okay, so I hated and envied all of those kids for being born into wealth, while I had to struggle to find a way to claim wealth for myself. I had to be ruthless and do whatever it takes to attain such wealth. After all, it was my only hope of ever being worthy of getting a girlfriend and living the life of gratification that I desire. Okay, so it's 3:39. Okay, and it's 3 hours ahead of Idaho, so I've got some time, right? I'm getting there, right? I'm on page 102. We're getting there. That's 35 more pages. The red carpet premiere of The Hunger Games was an even more exclusive event. The reason we got in was because my father was friends with the director, Gary Ross. My father even contributed to the film as a second unit director. Gary Ross had been coming over to Father's house for dinner quite frequently in the past few months. When he told me about The Hunger Games, I had never heard about it before, so I decided to read the books that the movie would be based on. It was quite an enjoyable story, and I became a fan. At the same time, my stepmother, Sumaya, was in the process of filming a French reality TV series called Les Vraies Housewives. Her status as a reality TV star, coupled with my father's important association with Gary Ross, enabled us to attain VIP tickets to the red carpet premiere, including admittance to walk on the red carpet itself, which was really a black carpet in a literal sense. I didn't own any suits, but I wore my extravagant Hugo Boss shirt. Boy, that shirt got a lot of wear, didn't it? Which I thought looked elegant enough to walk on the black carpet. As we were lining up for our walk on the black carpet, some dumb bitch of a security guard had the audacity to question, who the hell are these people, quote unquote. This made me so enraged that I almost said, we are people who are more important than you, you ugly cunt. Oh my God. But Sumaya's publicist calmly informed her of our invitation. We then proceeded to walk across the long black carpet as cameras flashed at us from one side, and a crowd of pathetic fans who reminded me of... Here, let me get here. I don't know what's happening with my computer. I have to... Okay. Okay, reminded me of sheep. Okay, so... And a crowd of pathetic fans who reminded me of sheep cheered from the other side. I felt extremely gratified at walking on the black carpet with Father and Sumaya, and I cockily smiled at all of the stupid fans who had to remain on the side, rubbing it right in their faces. There were some actors and celebrities on the carpet with us, and the paparazzi yelled at me a few times to get out of the way as they were taking pictures of some cunt actress. I discreetly gave those paparazzi pigs my middle finger. Elliot Rodger will not move aside for a stupid, good-for-nothing, over-glorified actress, whoever the fuck she was. I didn't see. We walked through all the chaos until we finally reached the theater where the movie was being screened, called the Nokia's Theater. It was one of the biggest theaters I had ever seen, able to seat hundreds of people. At the entrance, Father and I greeted Jack Ross, the son of Gary Ross. He was a spoiled brat of a 16-year-old, and to my embarrassment, he stood taller than me. I immediately hated him on sight. He was living the life I should be living. If only my father had become as successful a director as Gary Ross. I equally hated his repugnant friends who ended up sitting in front of me and partially blocking my view for the entire movie. Throughout the whole film, I had to fight the urge not to splash my drink all over the little shitheads in a vehement rage. Boy, he's getting pretty cocky, isn't he? And, you know, David does get like this sometimes. He really does. He's so funny. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong. But it's so terrible. It's funny. He has this secret side of him. This is totally his language. Throughout the whole film, I had to fight the urge not to splash my drink all over the little shitheads in a vehement rage. They spoiled it for me, and it was quite a good movie too. The movie was entertaining, but my favorite part of this premiere was the after party. Yes, we were invited to the after party where only the most important guests could attend. I felt so special as I handed my VIP tickets to the guards outside gaining admittance. The party was extravagant, with buffet tables set up in every corner serving exquisite delicacies. I excitedly went from plate to plate, helping myself to all of the food. Father and Sumaya went off to socialize with Gary Ross and his entourage of producers. I didn't know anyone there, of course, so I just spent time with my sister Georgia. A few moments into the party, I ran into an old face. He noticed me first and called out my name, saying, "Is your name Elliot?" He was none other than Ashton Moyo. I don't know how to say that. Moyo. From Pinecrest Middle School. I hadn't seen him since 8th grade. He was now in the process of starting a career in acting, and he had a small part in the movie. I actually read about this beforehand, but I didn't expect I would run into him at the after party. Blank was nowhere to be seen. I suppose the bitch wasn't invited. Ha! I remembered all of the pain she caused me during my 8th grade year at Pinecrest. I tried to act as cool and confident as I possibly could with Ashton, though I felt intimidated. He was one of the most popular kids at Pinecrest, and now he was becoming an actor, one of the most attractive careers a man can have. I assumed he probably slept with countless beautiful girls. That is so ridiculous. Damn him. I had a brief conversation with him before trying to leave his presence as fast as I could. I didn't want him to find out how pathetic my life was. While roaming around the after party, I bore witness to many successful young men who pranced in with their hot model girlfriends. Some of them were even actors my own age, stars of the movie. I had a particular burning hatred for the actor Alexander Ludwig, who I saw sitting arrogantly on a couch as people crowded around him in adoration. I hated everything about him: his golden blonde hair, his tall, muscular frame, his cocky, masculine face. That boy could get any girl he wanted. His life was completely opposite from my own. If only I could get a taste of how he lived for just one day. As I saw all of these successful young men and their beautiful dates, I became even more convinced about how important money and status was in attaining a desirable life of love and sex. It made me even more obsessed with my goal of becoming wealthy at a very young age. This was the only way to live life. The whole premiere, from the red carpet to the film to the after party, was an extraordinary experience, and I will never forget it. I still felt very bitter that I wasn't able to bring a girl with me as a date. The majority of men at the event had a date with them, and I felt so pathetic for not having a date. If only a girl at my college had been attracted to me, I would have gladly brought her to the premiere as my date. That doesn't mean they weren't attracted to you. Anyway. When I returned to Santa Barbara, I realized that I had absolutely no obligations. Since I had dropped all of my college classes, I had all the time in the world. I wanted to make use of that time as much as I could. Frantically, I tried to come up with ways to find some sort of idea to make millions of dollars. Some would say this was folly, but it has been done before. Many people have succeeded in coming up with an idea and making millions or even billions instantly. I was an extraordinary, magnificent person destined for great things. If other people could do it, why not me? It was my destiny, my whole purpose on this world. For the next week or so, I spent time meditating in my room, trying to come up with ways to get rich. I could either invent something, start a great business idea, or go back to my original idea I had of writing an epic fantasy story that could be made into a movie. You know, he'd be good at that. I'm sorry, I think that's what he should do. You know, his family will support him, it looks like. I mean, that's what he should have done. He has an incredible fantasy life, and he's a really good writer. He could have done that, damn it. Okay. That reminded me of the reason why I gave up on that idea in the first place, the amount of time it would take to achieve success from such a prospect. I was so desperate, and I needed to do something right there and then. It was a matter of life and death. If I couldn't make it, then I had nothing to live for. After a lot of deep thinking, I wouldn't come up with anything. I was doomed to fail at everything? I began to feel hopeless until I saw the current jackpot for the Mega Millions lottery. It was rising very high in the month of March. I had saved up a lot of money at the time, so I had enough to spare on lottery tickets as long as I didn't go over $5,000. Oh my God, did he put that much in the lottery? Okay, as long as I didn't go under, wait. So long as I didn't go under, okay, so long as I didn't go under $5,000 in his bank account, which I wanted to keep as my minimum amount of savings just in case of an emergency or in case I would have to carry out the day of retribution. As it so happened, I had well over $6,000 saved up at the time from all of the allowance, Christmas money, and birthday money that my parents and grandmothers had been sending me. For the first time since moving to Santa Barbara, I began to take a serious interest in playing the lottery again. I believed it was destiny for me to win the Mega Millions lottery, particularly this very jackpot. People win the lottery every single month, so why not me? I was meant to live a life of significance and extravagance. I was meant to win this jackpot. It was destiny. For the first few drawings I played, I spent $50 to $100 on tickets, but to my profound frustration, I still didn't win, and the jackpot kept rising. This only increased my enthusiasm. I started to picture a whole new here, let me shorten this. Okay, I can just put it up. For the first few, okay. I started to picture a whole new perfect life for myself after I won. I imagined buying a beautiful, opulent mansion with an extravagant view and acquiring a collection of supercars, which I would use specifically to attract beautiful girls into my life. I planned to go back to college once I had bolstered myself with all this wealth and lowered myself over all the other students there, finally fulfilling my dream of being the coolest and most popular kid at school. As I sat meditating in my room, I imagined the ecstasy I would feel as scores of beautiful girls look at me with admiration as I drive to college in a Lamborghini. Such an experience would make up for everything. I had to win this jackpot. As the jackpot reached over $200 million, I spent more of my saved money on lottery tickets. But I still didn't win. Yeah, it's like throwing away money. I knew that the more I spent on tickets, the higher chance I had of winning. I was so desperate to live a satisfying life that I spent $400 on tickets when the jackpot hit $290 million. When I failed to win that, I spent $500 on tickets when it reached $363 million. And I still didn't win it on that one. And then the jackpot reached a number that I never imagined it would, $656 million. I was astounded and filled with a feverish enthusiasm of hope and desire. This was the highest lottery jackpot in history. I knew I was always destined for great things. This must be it. I was destined to be the winner of the highest lottery jackpot in existence. I knew right then and there that this jackpot was meant for me. Who else deserved such victory? I had been through so much rejection, suffering, and injustice in my life, and this was to be my salvation. With my whole body filled with feverish hope, I spent $700 on lottery tickets for this drawing. As I spent this money, I imagined all the amazing sex I would have with a beautiful model girlfriend I would have once I became a man of wealth. After the ultimate and fateful drawing, I waited 3 days to check the result. I was too anxious about what I will see. The result would determine the fate of my whole life. For these 3 days, I meditated alone in my room, trying to convince myself that I was the winner. I held all of the tickets in my hand, excitedly poring over which one was the true winning ticket. There were many times during this period where I was about to check the result but canceled the web page in the last second out of fear of what I might see. The prospect of finding out that I lost was devastating. On the 4th day, I decided just to go through with it. The result was already decided, and the amount of time it took for me to check it wouldn't change anything. I had to see the truth. My heart was beating rapidly as I loaded up the webpage to the Mega Millions website. What I saw crushed all of my hope completely. My whole body shivered with horrific agony. I didn't win. 3 people won that jackpot, and it was split between them. But none of those 3 people were me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was certain I would be the winner. It was destiny, fate. No, but no, the world continued to give me no justice or salvation whatsoever. I sank into one of the worst depressions of my life. It was spring break, and while all other young boys my age were going off to vacation with their attractive friends, I was feeling miserable and alone in my room because I failed to win the lottery jackpot, and that would enable me to rise above them all. I was so depressed that even my mother came up to Santa Barbara with my sister and her friends for a short day trip. I refused to see them. Okay. I'm getting tired. 105. So 32 pages left. For the next months, I barely left my room. I was completely and utterly at the end of all hope. My life is over, I thought. Without that wealth, what was there to live for in the future? I still couldn't believe I didn't win. I kept thinking about the heavenly life I would be living if I had won. I was certain of victory right at the moment of the drawing. Instead, it turned to a crushing defeat, just like everything else in my life. Everything I had tried to do in the past ever since childhood had been a failure. It was very hard to feel good about myself anymore. I spent all of my time drifting aimlessly, doing nothing with my time except brooding over my fate. I didn't want to think about anything. I could barely breathe from the stifling loneliness. All of my energy had been sapped out of me. In the month of April, James Ellis officially ended the friendship between us. James hadn't contacted me at all since the Limousin's Christmas party, and I felt extremely offended by this. For the first few months of 2012, I had been trying to contact him, demanding to know why he continued to act so cold and distant to me. I thought that after we spoke with each other at the Limousin's, things would get better between us. I was dead wrong. I got hold of him on the phone in February, and he said a few words to me before quickly making an excuse to hang up. A month later, I messaged him on Facebook to tell him how rude he was on the phone, and in April, I received a response from him. He blatantly said he didn't want to be friends anymore. He didn't even deign, here's deign again, the word deign. He didn't even deign to tell me why. After he said the fateful words, he refused to talk to me ever again. That was the last time I ever spoke to him. It was the ultimate betrayal. I thought he was the one friend I had in the whole world who truly understood me, who truly understood my views and the reasons why I thought the way I did about the world. I confided everything into him because I thought we were on the same page. To be betrayed in such a manner wounded me deeply, though I never admitted it to anyone. On the day of the betrayal, I thought back on our entire friendship. James Ellis was my oldest friend. I remembered the first time I met him as we kicked dust together as first graders at Topanga Elementary School. I remembered all of the good times I spent at his various homes in the Palisades, trading Pokemon cards when we were little, our brief interest in skateboarding, playing World of Warcraft together as teenagers, all of our walks through the Palisades Town Center. He was a big part of my life, and now he was gone, faded away into memory. I didn't have any friends left anymore, no friends in the entire world. I didn't want to see Philip and Addison after I cried in front of them at the Getty Museum. I was completely and utterly alone in the darkest pit of despair, Brad Pitt. And in that pit, I withered in agony. My deep depression lasted well into the summer. My life stayed stagnant and miserable, and my hatred towards everyone, especially women, for depriving me of a happy life only grew stronger. I questioned myself over and over about what was going on, about what was going to happen to me now. I didn't want it to resort to having to exact ultimate vengeance. I didn't want to die. I wanted something to live for. There had to be a way for me to become wealthy. I continued to see it as I continued to see it was the only way I would ever have a beautiful girlfriend and lose my virginity. My ultimate dream was to experience the pleasures of love and sex with girls once I became rich enough to be worthy of them, and then I would settle down with a beautiful girlfriend and have beautiful children with her, whom I would raise up to live a much better life than the one I've had to suffer through. That would be the most satisfying vengeance against all those young people who thought they were better than me. If I could show them that I lived such a life, my purpose on this world, on this earth, would be complete. To see the look on all of their faces once I've risen above them, I couldn't imagine anything sweeter. Okay. I'm getting tired, as you can see. I just need to take a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, thank you. Hey. Okay, thank you for that. Just needed a moment. I needed to check on Elizabeth. I'm a little tired, but we are going to finish this. Just trying to get this right. All right, so I think we left off. I was trying to figure it out. I think it was right here, right? Right there. I so happened to come across a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. This book would fill me with hope for the next few months. It was very similar to The Secret, the book I read over a year ago, and it had the same effect on me. It gave me an even more in-depth view on the law of attraction. A year previously, I had given up on believing in such a concept, but when I read through this book thoroughly, I desperately convinced myself to give it a try. I wanted to believe the theory could work. I needed something to live for. I began to visualize myself winning the lottery. I did this all throughout the month of June. After continuous analyzing and contemplation, I concluded that winning the lottery was the only way I could become wealthy at a young age. And thus it was the only way to enjoy the rest of my youth. If I didn't have a satisfying youth, I would be bitter and miserable for the rest of my life. But of course, that would never happen. If it came to that, then I would have to carry out the day of retribution. Indeed, it was the only way I could attain any sort of wealth at my age. I had no talents. That's not true. So it was impossible for me to become a professional actor, musician, or athlete. That's not true. I don't know. In LA, everybody's an actor. You could have gone on auditions. Who knows, you know? And those were usually the ways, well, he was so timid and self-conscious. I guess that wouldn't have worked. And those were usually the ways that young people acquired such money. I could invent something or start a business just like Mark Zuckerberg did it with Facebook. No, he didn't do that with Facebook. That was one of our operations. We formed Facebook and we handed it to Zuckerberg. We recruited him or whatever, selected him, and he was our poster boy. That's what we did with all my well-known brands and businesses. Maybe David knows this and wants me to mention it. But the chances of me achieving such a thing were the same chances I had of winning the lottery anyway. I didn't even have the skills of a computer programmer. Well, you could acquire them. I mean, I've thought about doing this. Again, you know, I did that when I was a kid. I didn't learn coding in a traditional way. I didn't have a thorough knowledge of coding. I just caught on really quick and learned a specific skill that I was well known for, and I did it better than anybody else. I don't know. That's all I remember. I don't really remember very much about it. I was just really good at it. And, you know, in school, or really traditionally, even if you learn it on your own, coding involves a whole entire language, which takes a lot of time to learn well. It's a lot of effort and time that goes into it. I mean, it's worth it if you enjoy that. I just, I have, when I was in middle school, I learned basic C, what is it, basic or C? I don't know, basic. I think it's basic. And then, I did try to learn C. It was just, I don't know. Something always stopped me. I think it's that, I already did that as a kid, and I don't want to be accused of, being a hacker, because as a kid, I technically was a hacker for the CIA. I worked for the CIA when I was a little kid, and I just don't want to be accused of being some hacker. I'm not, and I guess that's why I haven't done it as a career as an adult. Because my intention when I was a hacker was not to break the law. My intention was to expose the truth and achieve justice for all, for the people. That was my goal. It wasn't to break any law or be a criminal. Okay, just want that to be clear. Okay, so after reading this book, I wanted to believe that there was some sort of supernatural power that I could harness to change reality as I saw fit. For the months of June and July, I took frequent walks around Gersh Park in Goleta, dreaming and visualizing about winning the lottery. I affirmed that once the jackpot rose to over 100 million, I would buy a ticket, and that ticket would be the winner. For all of the months of summer, people kept winning the lottery, and the jackpot kept resetting, but I was so desperate that I still clung to my faith that I would soon win. On one of the days in July, while I was roaming around Gersh Park, a group of popular college kids arrived to play kickball in the fields. They all looked like typical fraternity jocks, tall and muscular, the kind of guys I've hated and envied all my life. With them came a flock of beautiful blonde girls, and they looked like they were having so much fun playing together. One of the girls did a handstand in the grass, and her sexy bare stomach showed as her shirt hung down. All of the girls were scantily clad. Rage boiled inside me as I watched these people who thought they were better than me, enjoying their pleasurable little lives together. The rage was so intense that I couldn't take it. I was insulted too much. I couldn't leave them without getting some form of revenge, so I drove to the nearby Kmart and bought a super soaker, filled it up with orange juice that I bought at the same store. Oh no. And it's orange juice, OJ. Why wasn't it soda or water? It's OJ. These are hints, you guys. Orange juice that I bought at the same store and drove back to the park. They were still there, having the time of their lives, and I wanted to ruin it for them. I wanted to ruin their fun just like they ruined mine, as they would never accept me among them. I screamed at them with rage as I sprayed them with my super soaker. When the boys started to yell and chase after me, I quickly got into my car and drove away. I was giddy with it, and with ecstatic, hate-fueled excitement. I wished I could spray boiling oil at the foul beasts. They deserved to die horrible, painful deaths just for the crime of enjoying a better life than me. Wow. If you want to understand the Idaho 4 tragedy, I think it's right here. I drove to a secluded something of the parking lot. A secluded A-R-E-R. A secluded part, maybe, of the parking lot at the Camino Real marketplace nearby, my heart beating rapidly. After I had calmed down, I was overcome with the worry and fear that I would get in trouble for it. I wondered with panic if there were any cameras at the park that could have caught me in the act. The worry lasted for a few days, but eventually I became relieved that no trouble came of it. So he's aware of cameras, guys. He, as Bryan Kohberger, he was very aware of the cameras surrounding the 1122 King Road address. It was, I told you, it's his way of turning himself in. He intentionally, he scouted out all the cameras and made sure that he was on camera the whole time. This Idaho 4 is the way David is turning himself in. I know it now. My mother and sister came up to Santa Barbara for my 21st birthday. I didn't want them to come up, but they came anyway. I suppose my mother felt sorry for me that I would be alone on my 21st birthday. Oh, he's 21 now. Okay, we're almost there. 1 year to go, right? We're on page 107, and there's 30 more pages. Okay. And it's true, I would have been alone. Isn't that such a sad thing to contemplate? Being alone on my 21st birthday. Most other men have huge drinking parties with their friends and girlfriends to mark their passing over the legal age limit to drink alcohol. Yeah, he's 21, that's right. I've read stories online of how exciting other men's 21st birthdays are. I had absolutely no one to celebrate mine with. Well, your mom and your sister, but something mellow, but you had somebody. Some people don't even have that. Having no friends, the only people who even wished me a happy birthday were my immediate family members. Huh, you're lucky your immediate family members even care. Take it from me. When my mother and sister arrived in Santa Barbara, they wanted to meet up at a restaurant in State Street. But that prospect horrified me. State Street was filled with young couples walking around arm in arm as they went out on their blissful dates. I was already tortured at the fact that I was now a 21-year-old virgin. I didn't want to torture myself anymore. I looked online for a quieter restaurant that we could meet at, a place where young couples most likely wouldn't know about. I came across a secluded Japanese restaurant in Montecito. Oh, Montecito. That's where Harry and Meghan are. And Oprah, right? And China Phillips and Billy Baldwin, right? And Montecito named Sakana. I suggested this to Mother, and since it was my birthday, she gave me the choice of where to eat. I met the two of them outside the restaurant as they were waiting to be seated. I was in a sullen and depressed mood. Turning 21 as a kissless virgin was indeed a dark day. How pathetic it was to be 21 and still a virgin while kids were having sex at the age of 14. The unfairness of life on this earth is staggeringly horrific. The restaurant Sakana turned out to be a very good choice. They served the most delicious Japanese food I have ever tasted in my life. They had so many creative dishes to try, and I ordered so many meals that the bill reached over $200. I eagerly devoured all of it, compensating for my sorrows with delectable food. My mother loved the restaurant as well. She had been to all of the best Japanese restaurants in LA with her various wealthy boyfriends, and she proclaimed that Sakana topped all of them. From this point onwards, it would become a tradition for us to eat here whenever my mother came up to visit me. After dinner, we went to the Starbucks in Montecito, and I washed the exquisite meal down with a nice warm latte. I never explored much of Montecito before, and I found it to be a lovely, beautiful place. It reminded me of Calabasas, though much quieter and more conservative. I figured I would be spending a lot more time there in the future. 21 years old. Okay, here we go. 21. He's got 2 years to live. In August, I continued to build up my faith. Well, a little less than 2 years. in August, I continue to build up my faith that I am destined to win the Mega Millions jackpot. It is the future that was meant for me, the perfect, happy conclusion to the tragic life I've had to experience in the past. I couldn't wait to rub my status as a wealthy man right in the faces of all the people who looked down on me and all of the girls who thought of me as unworthy. I mused that once I become wealthy, I would finally be worthy enough to all of the beautiful girls. I spent the whole month meditating in my room or roaming around the park, visualizing the final outcome of my victory. Through the power of the law of attraction, which I had studied so intensely with the new book I found, I felt, okay, so it's this new book that is fine-tuning his understanding of the law of attraction. I felt certain that I would become the winner. I looked forward to it with profound eagerness. This was also the last month I had at the apartment unit I was staying in. I was set to transfer to a room in the main complex of Capri Apartments for the next school year. The conflict between Spencer and I had calmed down over the summer. He brought a few girls to his apartment, but they were all ugly, so I tried not to get jealous. I still hated him for the fact that he was able to witness how lonely and miserable my life was. I had spent an entire year at Isla Vista, Santa Barbara, and I had not had a single girl into my apartment. The pure rage and hatred I felt over that fact was enough, but to have someone like Spencer in my vicinity to judge me on it was salt on the wound. I made plans to track Spencer down once I become wealthy and arrogantly show off my new life to him. That would be the only way to get even. I wanted to show to Spencer, to show to the whole world that I had worth. Okay. I didn't think much about my imminent move to a new room, nor did I think much about who my new housemates would be. I firmly believed that I would win the lottery before then. I would then go back to my mother's house, show her my ticket, and buy a mansion of my own to begin a new life of heavenly bliss. One could say that I was being delusional. But my desperation for happiness was so intense that I wanted to believe that this was true. I wanted to believe that I had the power to invoke this into my reality. I have craved power and significance all my life, and I will stop at nothing to find ways of attaining it. Are you okay, Dean? Yeah? I'm on page 108. I have 29 pages left. Is that right? Yes, 29 pages left after this one. Before I knew it, my lease at my current room ended. And on September 5th, again, September 5th comes up. That's our wedding anniversary, Dean's and mine. This is the second time September 5th has come up in this document, Dean. That is no coincidence. And on September 5th, I transferred to the new room. Yeah, on September 5th, he did something else, too. I guess that's when his lease begins. I think it was a different room on September 5th the first time, and now it's another room on September 5th. Spencer and I didn't deign to say goodbye. There's that deign, that word deign. Have you ever used the word deign in conversation? Or even in writing? I deign. It's an interesting word. It's like a thesaurus word.
It sounds like a word they use in a Greek tragedy.
It's D-E-I-G-N.
Yes, it sounds like
Deign.
here in a Greek
It's
tragedy.
like British. You know, he supposedly is British. I mean, I guess the British use words more like that. It's like something you would look up in a thesaurus.
It's dame.
Dane.
No,
with an N.
dame. Switch the N for N.
Right, but it's not spelled the same way. But
Oh.
yeah, it's D-E-I-G-N. Like, I deign to say goodbye. That's the word right now that I'm reading it in.
800 year old. 800 year old.
It is an old word, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a cool word, honestly. It's just he's using it a lot. And
I thought you said that. A what?
A who?
I guess it sounds kind of cool to use it in your writing. I guess that's why he's using it. I mean, an occasional word like that is kind of cool. All right, I didn't deign to say goodbye to each other. We despised each other that much. I knew I would see him again when I track him down to show off my wealth that I firmly believed I would attain. I found out that my new apartment in the main complex of Capri was the exact apartment unit that I stayed in for the first month I had in Santa Barbara, apartment number 7 on Seville Street. When I moved all my belongings in, it was all empty. The manager told me that 2 housemates would be moving into the second bedroom within 2 weeks hence. Hence.
Yeah, an apartment, huh?
Well, yeah, he's been living in his, with roommates in Santa Barbara. I trusted that the manager had the sense to pair me with mature people, knowing my experience with those two barbaric housemates I had to deal with a year previously. By the time I moved in, the jackpot had finally risen over 100 million. This was the moment of truth. I had been waiting all summer for this to happen. Overcome with trepidation, I spent the next week in my new room meditating and visualizing winning the lottery very soon. I could feel the excitement I would feel once I see the 6 numbers on my ticket match the numbers that would be drawn. I imagined myself jumping up and down with joy once my victory was confirmed. On September 11th, the drawing for a jackpot worth 120 million commenced. I bought a $5 ticket and proclaimed that this had to be mine. When I saw that the winner was from California, my heart beat like a drum. This was it. Fate was being decided right at that moment. I didn't win. I look at my ticket over and over again, and then at the winning numbers. No match. It was just like what happened in March, except this was worse because I had built up anticipation for the entire summer. The winner was some guy from Riverside. He took my money. My money, he says. What a waste. What an injustice. I was so certain that the universe would finally grant me salvation after a life of torture and suffering. I then looked at my small, cramped room and realized that my lonely, depressing life of virginity would continue on mercilessly. That night, I threw a wild tantrum, not just a tantrum, a wild tantrum, screaming and crying for hours on end, all by himself, I guess, in his new apartment. I had the whole apartment to myself. Yep. So there was no one there to hear me. I raged at the entire world, thrashing at my bed with my wooden practice sword and slashing at the air with my pocket knife. Okay. I even downed an entire bottle of wine, and I got so drunk that I spilled my wine all over my laptop, permanently destroying it. I soaked my pillow with tears as I drifted off to sleep in my lonely bed. On the next morning, I felt so drained and depressed. I then realized that I destroyed my laptop, so I called my mother, begging her to buy me a new one. I made up the story that the laptop randomly died and I had no control over it. After some persuading, I managed to make her agree to buy me a new one. Oh my God, he just has it made, doesn't he? Everybody buys everything for him. Wow, I wish I had a life like that. I mean, but look at what happened to him. I mean, I think he was a little spoiled, boy. I quickly drove to Best Buy to look for a new laptop and decided to choose a newer, updated version of the Asus laptop I had previously. As it turned out, the Best Buy in Santa Barbara didn't have one in stock, so I had to drive all the way to Oxnard to pick one up. I paid the $1,500 for it with the assurance that my mother will drive up to bring me a reimbursement in a few weeks. Okay. Oh my God, she reimburses him. I've never had that luxury. I had to wait a few hours for them to prepare the laptop for me, and while I waited, I decided to go to the shooting range in Oxnard. I had the knowledge in the back of my mind that the day of retribution was very possible now. Going to the shooting. Why did he buy a laptop if he's just going to end it all? Waste his mother's money. I guess somebody got that laptop. I don't know. Going to the shooting range while I waited for my laptop gave me the perfect opportunity to gain some initial training in shooting guns, which will be the main weapons I use as vengeance against my enemies when the day of retribution ultimately comes to pass. I walked into the range, rented a handgun from an ugly old redneck cashier, and started to practice shooting at paper targets. As I fired my first rounds, I felt so sick to the stomach. I questioned my whole life, and I looked at the gun in front of me and asked myself, what am I doing here? How could things have led to this? I couldn't believe my life was actually turning out this way. There I was, practicing shooting with real guns because I had a plan to carry out a massacre. Why did things have to be this way? I silently questioned myself as I looked at the handgun I was holding in front of me. I paid my fee and left the range within minutes, feeling as if I was going to be sick. I spent the rest of the waiting period at the Coffee Bean in Oxnard. David and I used to go to the Coffee Bean, where I sat by myself feeling absolutely disgusted. My whole world was twisted. Within the following days, I spent a lot of time at the park, watching the wind blow through the trees and the children playing in the fields. I questioned the very fabric of reality. Why did this all exist, I wondered. How did life come to be? What was the nature of reality? What was my place in all of it? There was no point to my life anymore. I was never going to lose my virginity. I was never going to get a girlfriend because girls are repulsed by me. I was never going to have children and pass on my genes. The only way I could have been worthy enough to beautiful girls is if I become wealthy at a young age, and the faith I had in that happened. And that happening, right? And the faith I had in that happening, some typos, had just been crushed. There was no hope left. The life I could have had ceased to exist. I will never have sex, never have love, never have children. I will never be a creator. But I could be a destroyer. Life had been cruel to me. The human species had rejected me all my life, despite the fact that I am the ideal, magnificent gentleman. Life itself is twisted and disgusting, I mused. Humans are brutal animals. If I cannot thrive among them, then I will destroy them all. I didn't want things to turn out this way. I wanted a happy, healthy life of love and sex. But if I'm unable to have such a life, then I will have no choice but to exact revenge on the society that denied it to me. Wow, that's sad. My new housemates moved into the other room of my apartment at the end of September. They didn't know each other before they moved in, which was better for me because then they wouldn't gang up on me. Not like they would do such a thing anyway, since my two new housemates were both timid, geeky types. One of them was a funny-looking, curly-haired boy named Chris Rugg, and the other was an Asian American named John. It seems like they like to pair him up with Asian Americans. After the first few days of their stay, I felt content with these new housemates. They were quiet, respectful, and very friendly, and best of all, they never invited any friends over. I doubt they even had any friends. All they did was stay in their room and played video games all day. Of course, I had no desire to be friends with them because they had absolutely nothing to offer, but I knew I would have no problems with them in my apartment, and that was the best I could hope for. On Halloween weekend, I made the wise decision to go home to my mother's house. There was no way I was going to torture myself by staying alone in my room while the entire town of Isla Vista erupted in raucous debauchery. All of the tall, hunky jocks that girls love so much will be having all of the sex and all of the fun, while an unwanted outcast like myself would rot in loneliness. I imagine that some attractive guys who only visited Isla Vista for the Halloween event will be getting laid that weekend. They'd be getting sex from just one night in Isla Vista while I'm still a virgin after living there for over a year. It was too unfair. I wanted to punish them all. I imagined how sweet it would be to slaughter all of those evil, slutty bitches who rejected me, along with the fraternity jocks who throw themselves at. To see them all running from me in fear as I kill them left and right, that would be the ultimate retribution. Only then would I have all the power. He admits that he feels powerless and small, and this is how he overcompensates for how small and powerless he feels inside. And why does he feel so small and powerless inside? What happened? That's what I want to know. And what he describes doesn't explain it, other than he has some chemical imbalance in his brain that causes this rage. I mean, obviously the environment triggers it, but it's an unhealthy rage that is probably fueled by a chemical imbalance in his brain, and he needs to attend to that. And he'd feel a lot better if he did. And his parents should have gotten the idea to send him to a therapist, psychiatrist. I don't know why they didn't. They treated me like an insignificant little mouse, like Musette, his mother's maiden name, David's. But on the day of retribution, I would be a god to them. That's what David always chanted to be, was a god. They will be the mice, and I will be the predator. I considered setting the date for the day of retribution to be the next Halloween of 2013. That would give me a year to prepare, but soon dismissed it. If the day of retribution were to happen, it would be on a normal weekend. There would be too many cops walking around during an event like Halloween, and cops are the only ones who could hinder my plans. I spent the time at Mother's house relaxing and trying to forget about Halloween. I drank some of my mother's delicious wines until I was too buzzed to think about how much fun everyone else my age was having on that night. I didn't even bother to register for college classes that semester. There was no point. I believed that I would either fulfill my dream of becoming wealthy at a young age in order to be worthy enough to attract beautiful women, or exact my revenge upon the world and die in the process to escape punishment. There was no other path for me. Of course, I registered for some classes, but only to keep up the pretense to my parents that I was still attending college. If they somehow found out that I had dropped my classes right after registering for them, they would have stopped all of their support for me, and my life would have to end right then and there. Thankfully, I was a good liar. During the autumn of 2012, I had all the time in the world to figure out how I was going to triumph against the society that was torturing me. I spent a lot of time at the library in Goleta, just a few miles away from Isla Vista. At the library, I read countless books on history, business, and philosophy, learning as much as I could. It was better than staying at home in my room. Besides, I didn't want my housemates to find out that I wasn't going to college. That would be embarrassing, and I always cared about what others thought about me, even my nerdy housemates. I continued to visit the website of the Mega Millions lottery. I still clung to the hope that it may rise above 100 million again, and I would be the winner. So far, I saw that as my only way out of my horrible situation. My situation was indeed horrible. I couldn't leave the house without seeing a young couple walking around somewhere. Everywhere I went, I was all by myself, while other young people had friends and girlfriends. I was ashamed to show myself to the world. Even though I wore expensive designer clothes, what was the point if girls still... No apostrophe, typo. What was the point if girls still weren't attracted to me? No one respects a man who is unable to get a woman. I don't think that's the measure of a man. A woman wearing, a man wearing shorts and a t-shirt would be seen as superior to me if he walks into a store with a beautiful girl on his arm and I walk in all alone. A man having a beautiful girl by his side shows the world that he is worth something, because obviously that beautiful girl sees some sort of worth in him. If a man is all alone, people get the impression that girls are repulsed by him and therefore he is a worthless loser. That's not true. But that's his perception. I saw winning the lottery as the only way out, and I became so frustrated when the Mega Millions jackpot kept resetting. In the end of November, the jackpot was very close to getting high enough, but then it sank to the bottom once again. It was at this point that I learned about the Powerball lottery. The Powerball hadn't yet come to California, so I knew nothing about it before. I looked at the website and saw that the jackpot was over $500 million. $500 million. California didn't have a Powerball lottery, so in order to buy a ticket, I would have to drive all the way to Arizona. Earlier in that day, as I drove through Isla Vista, I saw this one particular young couple that stood out from the rest only because the girl looked absolutely perfect. She was tall, blonde, and sexy. She would have towered over me in height, and her boyfriend, of course, towered over her. They were both wearing beach gear, and the girl was in her bikini, showing off to everyone her sensual, erection-causing body. Her blonde hair was wet from swimming in the ocean, and it only made her look more arousing. The two of them were holding hands, and it was clear that they were in love. I saw the boyfriend place his hand on the girl's ass, and when he did this, the girl looked at him and smiled with delight. That guy was in heaven. I can only imagine how amazing it must be to have sex with a girl like that. I had to witness everything but I wanted, but could not have. It made me feel dizzy with anguish. I immediately thought about that couple and how impossible it was for me to have the same experience as that guy. Impossible, as I was at that point. But it would be possible for me to get a tall, blonde, sexy girlfriend if I was a multimillionaire. Oh yes, it would be very possible. Becoming a multimillionaire is the only way I could have such an experience, and winning the lottery was the only way I could become a multimillionaire at my age. As I stared at the Powerball jackpot that was over $500 million, I knew that I had to win it. It was midnight when I had this revelation, and the drawing was on the following day. The only way I could get a ticket before the drawing was if I left it for Arizona right then and there. And so that is exactly what I did. I quickly looked up the best route on Google Maps, packed some food into my backpack, and took off. The sun rose as I crossed the long stretch of desert in between Palm Springs. Yeah, David and I had an well-known visit to Palm Springs in 1994, just before I met Ron. At the end, I was really upset. We were at a hotel in Palm Springs, and I don't know, I think this is the way he controlled me. He would deny me sex, and I got really hurt. And, he had just given me the necklace of my dreams on Valentine's Day. And I was really proud of it, and I'd wear it, and all the girls hated me for it. And when he rejected me that way, I just tore it up. I was so upset, so frustrated. I just tore it up. And then I instantly regretted it, because it was the necklace of my dreams. And, there was probably a bunch of girls that chanted for me to destroy that necklace, or they wanted to destroy it. And I did. I destroyed it. And, and I was crying, and we were both picking up the pieces, and he assured me that I could restring it. And we gathered up all the little unique pearls. They were different shapes, and it was such a beautiful necklace, and we gathered them up and put them together. And yeah, I mean, that was a time when there's photos of me in Palm Springs with bruises all over my legs, because I think, I don't know if it was before that trip that, I don't know if it was him and Michael or somebody. I had been beaten. I've been kicked. I don't know. Maybe it was Tilo. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that word. I don't know. I was RAPED when I was DRUGGED with date RAPEDRUGS. And I remember a certain somebody kicking me. I remember David's partner in crime kicking me, just and making a lot of bruises on my legs. And there's a photo of me, sitting cross-legged with short, I don't know, I guess it was shorts. I don't think it was a skirt or anything. And I had bruises all over my legs. And that was during that trip. I don't know where the photos are right now anymore. But yeah, I had bruises all over my legs. And I didn't know why. I was like, I don't know why I have all these bruises. It's only later that I remembered, a couple incidents like that. And that's why I had bruises. And David knew that's why I had bruises on my legs. And that's why he took pictures of me with those bruises, apparently. And I guess it was at that point, in our relationship that I felt like my heart was broken. I guess, I don't know, something I just felt so rejected by him. And, I don't know, that was like a moment when I felt like it was the beginning of the end of our relationship, even though, I wouldn't be removing him from my life for a long time. It was before the murders too. But there was like some kind of turning point, and it was after that that he, he took off and was absentee in my life. Not because of that. It was just his partner in crime, Michael, just, was trying to get him away from me because I guess he wanted to control him and I was interfering with his control or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just reached a point of sorrow in my relationship with David at that point, and it was after that that he took off with Michael and he was nowhere to be found, and that's when I met Ron Goldman. And I never restrung that necklace. I intended to. I sincerely did, David. I did. I love that necklace. That necklace is beautiful. It was the necklace of my dreams. And I so much appreciated that you did that for me and honored me that way in front of the other girls of the SGI. I appreciate that. But, and I don't know why I didn't restring it. I guess because I felt like, I don't know. I intuitively understood something was off in our relationship, that you led some kind of double life and wasn't the pure man. I was just mesmerized by David's so-called purity. I just made him into this man. I mean, I really would talk about him being a virgin. I mean, this is why this manifesto. I really did. I just thought he was this pure virginal guy, and that was so beautiful to me at the time. And I guess I think it was in March of 1994 that we went up to Palm Springs, and that was the turning point when I understood he was not the man I thought he was. And it was like a death in our relationship in a way, and that's, I guess, the cause that for Ron Goldman to come into my life, because that was around the time I think Ron showed up in David's absence. It was right after that trip, because that was around the time I moved in with Tiffany, and yeah. All right, so yeah, it says here's March. Yeah, there's March. Isn't that funny? Yeah, that's about the time of year it was, March. Yeah, it was almost the same. Okay, so this is him talking. I didn't win. It was almost the same scenario that I suffered through in March, except this one was twice as devastating. When I finally arrived home from the long trip, I'm just trying to review everything. Okay. I immediately went to bed after not sleeping for so long. It was very difficult to stay awake on the road. Yeah, I know what that's like. But I managed to do it due to the severe importance of the journey. The Powerball drawing occurred while I slept, and my last thought before drifting off to sleep was that when I woke up I would be a multimillionaire and my life would be saved. I slept for a very long time, and when I awakened, it was already the morning after the drawing. I was overcome with anxiety. I was so confident and certain that I would win before the drawing occurred. But once that point in time had passed, I feared the result. I feared that I might not have won. I spent the next 3 days in my room trying to garner enough courage to check the winning numbers that would determine my fate. After realizing how much time I was wasting, I visited the Powerball website to see the result. At the very first second of viewing the webpage, I caught a brief glimpse of it before closing it out of fear and panic. In that brief glimpse, I saw that there were 3 winning tickets, and one of them was in Arizona. My heart started beating rapidly. That had to be me, I thought, with hope and excitement welling up inside my whole body. There was an Arizona winner, and I had bought my ticket in Arizona. After that long emotional journey, driving toward the sunrise in the middle of the desert, fighting off sleep just to get there in time, visualizing my whole future before me with a beautiful blonde girlfriend and the children I would have with her. After all that, who else could be the winner but me? It was meant for me. It was fate, destiny. I took out my tickets, and of which I had purchased 50, and sifted through them to find the one that matched the winning numbers. I felt dizzy and ecstatic as I did it, feeling so certain that my victory will be confirmed. When I reached the end of my stack of tickets, I didn't find any that matched. For the first few moments, I couldn't even believe what was happening. I looked through all my tickets again and again and again, and still nothing. I didn't win. I sat very quiet and still in my desk chair for a long time. All of the emotions swept out of me. I didn't react with rage or anguish. I just sat there, cold and dead, mentally trying to contemplate what I had just done. I had driven all the way to Arizona just to buy lottery tickets because I was so desperate for a happy life in which girls would be attracted to me. I was so certain I would win, building up all that hope only to have it shattered right before me at just that moment. I then drove out of my apartment and made my way to the Gersh Park. I had to be somewhere peaceful. Along the way, I saw couples strolling along the streets of Isla Vista, walking arm in arm. I saw groups of good-looking young people walking together, laughing and enjoying each other's company. I felt completely dead inside. The torment racked my entire body as I realized that I now had no chance to rise above them. I lost. When I got to the park, I sat in my car for hours, crying and crying and crying. I wailed with agony. My tears streamed down my face and stained my collar. I couldn't take it anymore, feeling the need to talk to someone. Good, you should get a therapist. Feeling the need to talk to someone, I called the only people I had in my life, my parents. I called them both, first my mother and then my father, and I told them how much I was suffering from my loneliness and my utter realization that I had no hope of ever having a happy life. Therapist, arrange for therapy. If they didn't get the message before this, they should have gotten the message during this phone call from Santa Barbara. I told them that they must be ashamed of me, that I was a 21-year-old virgin who is unable to get a girlfriend or making any friends whatsoever. I was not the son any parent would want. My tantrum to my parents on the phone deeply disturbed them, and they arranged for me to see my psychiatrist. Oh, so he has one. Dr. Charles Sophie, when I returned home for the winter break. Okay, he got one at that time, right? He's talking like from a future time. Okay, so they did finally. Oh my God. Finally. As the phrase that I coined goes, if I cannot join them, I will rise above them. And if I cannot rise above them, I will destroy them. I have been trying to join and be accepted among the beautiful, popular people all my life, but it was to no avail. They have always treated me like scum. Girls have always deemed me unworthy of their love and sex. I tried to overthrow them by gaining wealth at a young age, from trying to come up with invention ideas. That's what David used to do. He used to try to patent new ideas. My father patented a lot of stuff. The Zodiac killer, Dennis Wayne Elliot. David Wayne Craig also did that. I once typed it up. He had me told me never to tell anyone, but he'd give me a pile of articles, and he had me, I guess he had me combine this article with this, and I did that on my computer. I don't know, he was trying to come up with new ideas or new plans, new invention, I guess, I don't know, new patent ideas for inventions. Yeah. This is David. To contemplating writing an epic story, and finally to trying to win the lottery. At this point, the prospect of overthrowing them seemed hopeless. Overthrowing who? Oh, tried to overthrow them. Women in general, girls in general. The final solution to triumph over my enemies was to destroy them, to carry out my day of retribution, to exact my ultimate and devastating vengeance against all of the popular young people who never accepted me, and against all women for rejecting me and starving me of love and sex. At this point, it fully dawned on me that the possibility of having to resort to exacting this retribution was more real than ever before. Without the prospect of becoming wealthy at a young age, I had nothing to live for now. I was going to be a virgin outcast forever. I realized that I had to start planning and preparing for the day of retribution, even though I hadn't yet had any idea of what day that would be. Okay, where is the psychiatrist in all of this? I'd like to know. My first act of it sounds like he killed himself before he went to see he talks about his psychiatrist, so he went to see him, I guess. I guess we'll find out. Okay, and we're on page 113. We're almost at that infamous page 118. Okay, so 113. 137, it's 4... 24 pages left, right? My first act of preparation was the purchase of, he forgot the of, my first handgun. I did this quickly and hastily at a local gun shop called Galetta Gun and Supply. I had already done some research on handguns, and I decided to purchase the Glock 34 semi-automatic pistol, an efficient and highly accurate weapon. I signed all of the papers and was told that my pickup day was in mid-December. That fell in nicely because that was when I was planning on staying in Santa Barbara till. After I picked up the handgun, I brought it back to my room, and I felt a new sense of power. I was now armed. Who's the alpha male now, bitches? Oh, it's so sad. Who's the alpha male now, bitches? I thought to myself regarding all of the girls who've looked down on me in the past. I quickly admired my new weapon before locking it up in my safe and preparing to go back to my hometown for the winter break. I didn't attend the Limelson's Christmas party that year, nor would I ever again. Yeah, because you died the next year. The only person I ever really hung out with at those parties was James, and James was no longer my friend. It would have been extremely awkward to be there while James is there, knowing that the two of us, who used to be old friends since first grade, would be avoiding each other. It would be a foul and bitter experience, and I had already gone through enough anguish in the last few months. A few days before Christmas, I took off with my mother and sister for another vacation in England. She had called me a month previously to tell me about it. At first, I didn't want to go, knowing that I will feel miserable about going on vacation without a girlfriend to experience it with me, along with the shame of having to once again appear to my relatives in a fashion that I was unsatisfied with. A year had passed since the last trip, and I was in exactly the same position in life. I had nothing for my grandmothers to be proud of, no girlfriend, no future prospects, no life at all to talk about. Everything is all about that, huh? The one thing that persuaded me to go was the fact that my mother planned to have us travel on Virgin. I guess he's obsessed with Virgin Atlantic. Virgin Atlantic upper class, the highest form of travel the airline offers. I hadn't traveled first class for a long time, and I just couldn't refuse such an offer. I've always had a penchant for luxury, opulence, and prestige, and traveling on Virgin Atlantic upper class would give me that experience, if only for a short time. After all of the anguish I had been through, I figured I needed a sense of respite by going on this luxurious vacation for just this one brief period of my life. Since I speculated that my life could very well be ending soon, I decided to try my best to forget about everything and indulge myself in every way I could on this trip to England. Before we took off, we spent some time at the exclusive upper class lounge at the LAX airport. There was a buffet with all sorts of goodies for me to pick at, and I had my fill of smoked salmon and champagne. While there, I had a discussion with my mother about whether I had any more hope in my life and what I could possibly do to get what I want in life. As holders of first-class tickets, we skipped to the front of the line as we boarded the plane, and I took great satisfaction as I passed by all of the other people who flew economy, giving all of the younger passengers a cocky little smirk whenever they looked at me. Once I had settled in my big, luxurious bed seat in the first-class cabin, I had even more champagne, followed by an exquisite dinner of steak and potatoes and some red wine to wash it all down. I ordered glass after glass of red wine during the whole ride and became quite drunk as I watched a few movies, one of them being the new Ice Age movie, which I found quite funny. Yeah, red wine, that was my wine of choice in Napa Valley, and I was in a relationship still. Well, I broke up with David when I moved up to Napa. He broke up with me just before Valentine's Day, of course. And that year was 1997, and I was devastated. And I met a guy in a restaurant, a French who was a winemaker or assistant winemaker at a brewery. At a wine label, and I went out with him. He was from France, and so I got a new boyfriend really quick, and I guess that was the way. That was, and David came to see us, and he continued to be part of my life, even though I had other boyfriends. He was always around. It seemed like the pressure was off once I got a boyfriend. Yeah, and I was really, I never liked red wine up until I moved to Napa, but then, I took a wine class and was surrounded by winemakers, or, people in Napa. All of them are involved in wine, and you get very, you try different wines, and you really acquire an appreciation for good wine, and red wine is where it's at. And I guess I turned David on to red wine. I don't know that, we weren't ever drinkers or anything. At least not from my experience. Obviously he had a double life, of drugs, smoking crack and getting drunk, to commit the crime he wanted to commit. But his life with me, we didn't drink at all. I occasionally saw him buy a pack of cigarettes. He'd smoke a few and then he'd throw the rest away. He just needed a little dose of that, and then he'd throw them away. After flicking it into some wooded area to start a wildfire. I mean, I didn't, at the time, I'm like, what are you doing? You could start a fire. And he's like, oh, no worry. And then we get back to LA, and then there's a wildfire in that area. I mean, he's an arsonist. I was just like, David, do you think that your cigarette caused that? And he's like, nah. And I was in denial. Just everyone know he's an arsonist, and that's how he started his fires. He would say, oh, I'm just getting a pack. I just feel like having a couple cigarettes. And then he'd flick one into a wooded area, drive away, and, and then throw the pack away and claim, oh, I'm just throwing it away because I don't want to have them around. I don't want to smoke. I just needed a couple, just needed to smoke one or two, and I'm done now. And he'd throw them away. That was it. That's all I ever witnessed. When we went to dinner, sometimes we'd have wine or whatever, that was it. He was never a partier. He was never drunk. I mean, except for the night when he murdered my brand new husband, Ron. He was drunk on the phone. I talked to him on the phone. I asked Ron to put him on the phone, asked him what the hell he was doing there. And I knew he was up to no good. And I was trying to warn Ron, and he was giggling with his partner in crime, Michael. Oh, no. And he was telling Ron they were his new best friends. They were having fun. They were playing with him. And Ron, in his innocence and his naivete, just, didn't know they were, making fun of him. And I was like, Ron, that is not David's personality to be your new best friend. He is not your new best friend. I tried to warn him. But Ron believed them. He wanted to believe them. He just wanted to believe David. Oh, you're just being paranoid, Claire. Yeah, look at how paranoid I was, and look at what happened. All right, so... Okay, I do have to help. I have to take care of Elizabeth, and I was supposed to help her now. I told her, okay. I told her not to hold me to the minute. She's so rigid, Elizabeth. She wants me to show up to the minute when I say, and I tell her I need a window of flexibility, please. As I'm doing things, I'm helping you as I'm doing other things with my life, and I need to, finish what I'm doing and then help you. And sometimes things don't fall on the hour, on the minute, But yeah, it's now 10 after 5 here in Augusta, Georgia. And I'm making great progress. I'm on page 113. And that means I have... Wait a minute, that's not right. I had 24 pages before. It was 37. It's 24 more pages. I thought I had 24 more pages way back. Oh, gosh. Okay, my computer is, I guess I need to, okay, I'm not even to the epilogue yet. I don't even think we're at age 21 yet. This is taking so much time, David. Whew, what a book. 22, I mean, yeah, that's what I meant, 22 years old. I haven't even gotten to 22. This is the last year of his life. He cuts it short, and, you know, he turns 22 in July, and he cuts it short. Was it in March? I don't know when he did this. It was before his birthday. It was in the spring sometime. And look at all this. Yeah, I'm not going to finish this right now. So, okay, now here's the epilogue. Yeah. Yeah, it's just 2 pages long, isn't it? That's it. That's the end. And the rest are blank. I wonder why that he did that. 1, 2, 3, 4. He added 4 blank pages at the end. David did that on purpose for some reason. 4. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the original that he sent out. Okay, so I do have to stop and help and take care of Elizabeth, and then I thought this was going to be the last one. And I've probably beyond, let me see how long it's been. Let's see. Okay, no, that's not it. Live stream. Okay, 3 hours and 9 minutes already. Oh my God, I thought I'd be done by now. This is really something. I'm just trying to see where I am. Okay, that's way. All right, so we're going to stop here, and I will resume. I thought it was the end. I really did. I'm so mad that it's not. Okay, I was on 113, I remember. Page 113. Okay. Okay, so he's on the plane. Okay, he's not, we're not this far yet. Okay. Right here's where it was. Okay, so this is where we stopped, right? When we arrived? Yeah. Okay. So page 113. Last paragraph is where we'll pick up when I come back. I'm sorry. I really thought I'd be done by now. I can't believe how long this is taking. And I wonder if Bryan Kohberger has posted his alibi at this point. Let me see. Let me look it up.
You've had
Wait.
6 months on the alibi.
Wait.
You have plenty of time to get an alibi.
Wait, let me see. Is this the one?
You know it.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 months, you've had plenty of time to get an alibi.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't have...
Not 6 hours, not 6 days,
Okay.
6 months.
He doesn't have one, Dean.
No kidding.
Okay.
This is from your brother-in-law. He's smart. Think too much.
Okay. I have one of those. Okay, all right.
There's the book.
Okay, all right. I'm in the middle of a live stream, Dean. Hold on, okay? Just want to look at this up. Okay. Wait, that's where I'm supposed to be. I don't know. I don't have the website handy. Idaho court website. There it is. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong to do this one, but let's see. I just shoot. Okay, why don't I just?
You've already told him the death date.
I just want to see if he posted Idaho Bryan Kohberger. Yeah. No. Oh, shit. 1 month ago. Okay. There we go. This is it. Cases of interest. Wait. Oh, here we go. All right, let's see. Did he post his alibi? Wait, what is this? Is this it? This is... No. Associated Press. It's right above that, right? This is it. Yeah, this is it right here, right? I just want to confirm it. Yeah, okay. What's today? 24th. They haven't posted it. They haven't posted it yet. Are you waiting for me? Are you waiting for me? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so late. I'm going to get this done. I just need to take care of they haven't posted it. I thought maybe they would have posted by now, and they haven't. It is 2:17 in Idaho. I'm going to take care of Elizabeth. It's going to take me like 20 minutes max, and I'll get back on here within 30 minutes to do my very last live stream. I apologize for the delay. I'm doing my best. As you know, I've been on all like 8 hours today, over 8 hours. Can you imagine doing 8 hours of live streaming in one day? And yeah, I guess if I just mechanically read the whole thing, I would be done by now. You wanted my commentary. You wanted my testimony here, you know. So I'm doing my best, and I know it's not perfect. I hope it's acceptable. Thank you. I'll be back in about a half an hour, and it's about 5:18 here. So I'll be here before 6 o'clock my time, Augusta time. That's 3 p.m. before 3 p.m. Idaho time. Before 3 p.m. Idaho time, I will post. Is that right? And I will get it done before 4 p.m. I mean, I don't know. The rate I'm going, you know how fast I'm going. I'm hoping, you know, I tend to underestimate time. I'm thinking I'm going to be done by 4 p.m. Idaho time. I'm hoping. Okay, so thank you for your patience, and I'm going to shrink this so we can look and see what is posted. Okay, I'll see you in about, and it's almost 20 after 5. I will see you in approximately a half an hour, maybe a little sooner if I can. Okay, if I can. Thanks for your patience.